YouTube, Brian Phillips. We've got a little dinky, tiny, super small package here to open. Oh, this one I'm super excited about. And some of you guys have been wanting for it for a while. And there was a certain brand that sort of discontinued it a little bit, maybe. But don't you worry. Chinese are here to save the day. Look at that, it is the J-11. Very, very cool. But yes, that's J-11 evidently.
Okay.
I've been told by the Chinese directly. They're like, please, I'll keep saying the right thing. They're back there in that room, making sure we don't say anything wrong. Oh, this is so cool. I'm super excited for this one. This is a twin 70 EDF jet. And as you can see, it came perfectly in time for spring. Maybe not.
No.
Okay, so you guys may notice that this looks slightly similar to other planes that we've seen in the past, except it's got a different livery on it. And so when we're done with this one, in unusual Brian Phillips RC fashion, we're going to show the other one. Yes, we're gonna show the 27 as well. Built and ready to fly, which is gonna be super amazing. And I can't wait to share it. So let's talk about this for a second, specs-wise. I'm just gonna read this here, camera crew. If you could just you read this side and I'll read the side that's in English, maybe.
Good luck.
Holy crap, it's all in Chinese.
It is.
Maybe I should get my phone and do the Google Translate and see what it says.
Directions, well, it's pictures. Oh, wait, there's English.
Is there English?
A little bit.
Yes.
That's
6S 5000.
Okay,
okay, 50C.
Woo. Okay,
okay,
that's
good.
all we really need.
And guys, what do we know about twin 70s?
Battery eaters.
They chew through the batteries and they destroy them and spit them out. So I'm gonna use as high a CPAC as I got. So I'm gonna probably use 100 CPACs. And these things look, this plane looks totally sweet. I'm super excited for it. Now, the other thing is, what you guys don't know, because we never published a video because it was kind of a nasty crash.
Oh. I was like, what
its predecessor, the SU-30.
Yes.
Made by the same company, but branded in a different brand. It died a very, very, very painful and quick death, along with my 7,000 milliamp 6S pack. So it was a very expensive crash. And yeah, so anyway, let's just say that the power lines were not actually the culprit, but they were involved. Well, as you may notice, there's no power lines now, which is super exciting because this is a big bird and I'm super, super excited. Oh man, there's like static electricity like out to here. It's making my hair stand up. So we're super excited to do this again with a little bit more skill under my belt. Oh, that is so cool. Gotta love it. This will be the first thing to break. Ah, look, the magnets are so strong. It's holding my nut and bolt sack. Except that's wing joiners. What is that for? For the telebonds. So sweet, full functional telebonds on this thing. I can't wait to get to it. Unboxes are, to me, the epitome of the most boring thing we do, but I know you guys like them, so we do them anyway. But the build part is really helpful, I think, for a lot of you. This is obviously not a beginner aircraft, so please don't even ask. If you're asking, it's definitely not for you if it's brand new. Look at this, that is so cool. They painted that red, or is that plastic? I think it's plastic red. And then this is the little tail piece that comes out. So I think we might have to glue that on. So hopefully we'll get that. I did open a new bottle of mucilage that was purchased back in like 1992. Mostly because we're waiting on our foam to foam. It's been back ordered forever. So as soon as we get that, we'll start using that stuff again because it's really good stuff.
Well, and we probably won't be flying today, so it'll have a little bit of time.
Oh no. It's snowing.
I know. See, it was snowing a lot harder earlier.
Show the people what it looks like. It is really pretty. It's just that it's pretty disgusting. If you live in an area where it snows, you know that when snow happens, oh yeah, look at these wings. They are absolutely gorgeous. Look at the perfect finish. Oh, I love it. There's only just a few of these little bumps like that. We used to see that all over our models. And then now, like, look, you can't even see where the servo is, hardly. That is just amazing. I love it so much. It's so cool. And then, of course, out here on the wing, we've got LED. Those are super bright LEDs. But I must say, the super bright LEDs are hard to see with ordnance attached. But on this one, it attaches on the bottom. So that's totally sweet. So you still get your nav lights. And those are bright nav lights. So they're like day bright. You'll see them in the daylight. And then as you can see, plastic reinforcement along all the connection points here. This is all plastic, but the paint is a perfect match because they jigged and painted this, it looks like. And those look like water transfer decals because they are like perfect. They're really light. They're not heavy duty. I have no idea what that means, but I'm sure it's like Death to America or something like that, but whatever. I guess we can put it up against the Russian version, which is the SU-27 shortly. And if you guys were wondering, if you hadn't connected the dots, the one we're doing is actually an SU-27, not an SU-30. We had done an SU-30 previously. Okay, so there's this big bundle here. And normally, I don't know what's in there.
What's in there?
I don't know. Oh, it's canopy. It's canopy.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Oh, that looks so sweet. Super, super cool. Oh no, I have a piece of foam in there, look.
Oh.
There's like a singular piece of balls of foam. I wonder if that's why they sent this one to us. It was like the reject. It's like some poor guy got fired. You left the foam in there. You're fired. Look, I'm gonna get the balls out. See this? You guys see what I'm talking about? Get out.
Wait, hold still, they can't see.
You guys see it?
Yeah.
At least I can probably get it out. Yes, 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 it's been released. So that's super cool, exciting. I love the Navy liveries when I can get my hands on them, but it seems like, I don't know why it is, but we never seem to get them. Now look at the transition in color, it's subtle, but the underside is more of that like greenish teal finish. And then the backside or the top side, of course, would be this like darker gray. Now, I must say, when you've got cloudy skies like this, these planes, they sometimes disappear and you'll lose orientation because it's hard to tell the top from the bottom. But on the SU-27, you're gonna have a bigger differentiation between top and bottom. But I love the military look. That's one of my favorite looks when it comes to radio controlled airplanes because I'm kind of a scale guy. That would have been, you know, when we first started this whole endeavor a few years ago. Those missiles look sweet. I mean, they're simple. They're not painted foam. Okay, so I just want to show you what I'm talking about here. See how it's just a naked? They are labeled left and right.
Yep.
Okay. And then the fins are cut down so that you can get those onto the wings. Of course, those are going to go out on the actual end, I believe. And these things are keyed in. Oh, wrong one. These ones are keyed in, so they're super easy to put on. Okay, so it just goes like that. And then I think it slides back. Yep, slides back. Super easy process to build this. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you're building this plane and you even have any apprehension at all, this thing flies a lot like the F-16. It's got a very long wheelbase, but it's very narrow compared to the shape of the plane. So you're gonna tend to tip like the F-18. And you can see here, it's just the wheelbase is gonna allow it to tip when you're really going fast on a landing. So you might wanna put those missiles on even if you do no other ordnance, because it'll help protect your wings. And nobody likes hanger rash. It's kind of comes with the territory to a certain degree, but you can minimize some of the damage if you're careful about the way you do things. Okay, so we've got the wing spar. This is very, very light. Feel how light that is. See?
Oh yeah.
That's cool. Definitely carbon fiber. Not folded manual. Thank you, FMS. We appreciate that very much. Hey, this is made in China. That's so weird.
Wow.
And by the way, it's totally ironic because it's actually I believe this is a branded, like they actually paid the military or something for rights to do this. I don't know. I mean, if it was an American one, they would have paid somebody to do it. Broken foam, something we're not used to seeing. That's very unusual. Looks like they probably had a problem with this because look at the way the foam looks. Huh, weird. Well, anyway, okay, so continuing on, there's no damage that I can see. Looks so beautiful. Vertical stabilizers. Absolutely gorgeous. They did not match this color right though. That was supposed to be on, wonder if they did that on purpose. Maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. This is a digital Metal Gear servo, 9 gram. So that's good for rudders, dual rudders. And yes, if I remember right, this plane, and I mean, to be honest, our SU-30 is the closest analog we have to this plane for comparison. And in our experience with it, it was very fast and it didn't slow very much with the air brake, because there is a functional air brake on this, which is super, super cool. And so if you guys aren't used to it, or you don't know what I'm talking about when I talk about the SU-30, this is gonna be almost exactly the same plane, okay? It is a different model. There's probably just very minor deviations. I think the largest deviation, of course, is gonna be the livery though. So just the paint job, okay? Unpainted missiles, okay? One of the things I love about the ordnance pack on this plane is that everything is super, super light and also really aerodynamic. But just keep in mind the ground clearance on this thing, because of this complex cup on the nose gear. If you land in grass, you are gonna pick up the entire forest in that thing. I mean, it's, even though it's got super robust landing gear, you're gonna be stuffed with grass every time. So keep that in mind. Okay. Absolutely gorgeous tail feathers. These are the horizontal stabilizers. And then they've got this thing, which is an alignment tool, which kind of keeps it square, okay? And in relationship to the rest of the fuse. Of course, perfect looking matches on all the paint jobs. Of course, they would have jigged these and painted them, okay? Then we've got ball joints here, which is good. And then this assembly, it's actually a pretty easy build. These assemblies slide through, and we'll show you exactly how to do that shortly. Okay, the money shot's coming too. Looks like we have to lift this out. Goodness gracious. Ooh, that's really in there. I wonder if I have to leave that in. Oh, I have to cut this out, don't I? So with this plane, when you do get ready to pull it out, just keep in mind it's a very long fuse and it's heavy. So make sure you figure out your game plan for where you're gonna lay it down. If you've worked with a lot of the bigger jets, you'll know what I'm talking about. But sometimes the plane stands don't work amazing for the bigger models like this, just because of the nature of their shape. Okay, got the ventral fins here. That looks totally sweet.
Oh, cool.
Must be like a sunburst or something. I'm not sure if maybe that's a gauge for like the angle of attack or something like that. This one's in a Ziploc bag or a, I don't know.
Zip top bag.
Zip top bag. Have to respect all these brands, I guess. I don't know. You would think that they would want you to use their brand.
Yeah.
But whatever. I don't care. Ziploc, if you want to come after me, please do. Here we go. I don't know how to get this thing out though without popping that free. Just trying to do this carefully. I'm gonna put my fingers into here so I can lift it. Oh, that's so gorgeous. Jeez. Look how sweet that looks. Look at the red on the gear door. Oh, that looks so amazing. This is like tight though, guys. I just want you to see this. Like it is literally stuck. I hope it doesn't damage the finish, and it didn't, but that was stuck. Like they must have put this in premature. I wonder if this is because it's an early sample. I'm not sure. Okay, so more ordnance. Oh yeah, that is so sweet. Unpainted white, unpainted fins there. So now, one complaint that you guys may have on ordnance like this is that that unpainted white will age poorly. And just to give you an example, this F-16 is a painted airframe, and this is an unpainted piece. So if you get really close, you can see, and it's hard to tell, but basically what happens is the paint will age at the same rate, whereas the plastic will age at a different rate. So the hanger rash gets exaggerated. But in my experience, I tend to fly with ordnance maybe once, and then the ordnance is gone. But if I had one of my favorite models and I wanted ordnance, I'd want ordnance. And I gotta say, like if I got one in a Blue Angels or some sort of like an air show crew, I would for sure want the ordnance if it's in a livery like this, where it's a military style livery. because that's what I remember as a kid. And then of course, you know, thinking about the way it would look with the ordnance is just so much cooler. So even if I don't use it, I still want the ability to get it. And then of course it comes with the plane. You don't have to buy it separately. There's a few brands out there that make you buy that stuff separate, which I just think is ridiculous.
That's weird.
Especially with what you're paying for these things. So FMS, good on you for doing that. Okay, so that, I think that's everything. So now I just have to try to figure out how to get all this stuff back in the box because these things are like a puzzle. And I've gotten pretty good at putting them all back together, but they're huge. And if you do a lot of planes, just imagine every plane you have, you've got a box to deal with. We have a special way of dealing with that, and it works really good. So anyway, we're gonna pack this back up. We'll come right back at the plane stand and start doing the assembly, and we hope you guys enjoy this, so stay tuned. Okay, so guys, not sure if I can do this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So Google, don't you worry, it's no big deal. I have Google Translate opened on my other phone because we use our phones to film. If you guys weren't aware, we film on just exclusively phones with Rhodes wireless mics. And I have this super non-nerdy pocket protector that I built. I self-built. And if you guys ever have used translation services, it's super nice because what I can do is I can highlight this and it will actually live translate Chinese characters. Of course, now that...
I think you're moving too much.
No, I want to go to this one.
Okay.
So I'm in, it says take a picture. No, I'm just doing it live. So what it usually does is it will actually live translate, which is so cool. And so like this high degree of reduction. I don't think that's right. Plateau, high degree of reduction. Okay. High strength EPO foam, high stability. Okay, so then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna lay this sideways here for a sec, and then I can read you the specs. Okay, so this says dual 70 millimeter. I don't know if you guys can see that. Powerful dual internal rotation motors, 12 leaf channel with high quality hobby wing, 80 amp ESC, high reduction. It says high reductile. Okay, I don't know what that says. Large size bearings and used hub to adapt to very good ground takeoffs and landings. Pre-installed ball rudder, increased stroke, whatever that means. And then on the back, so if you guys have never used, this is just Google. If you have the right type of equipment, you can just type into Google Translate, the word translate, search, and then I have an icon of a picture or a camera rather, and it will show up, and then you can do the translations. So yeah, this says the JBS fighter is a heavy duty fighter jet produced by my country on basis of SU-27. It was initially authorized by Russia to produce, and on the basis of the SU, okay, AVIC Shenyang Aircraft Industry Company established a production line forming production and assembly capabilities and blah, 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 whatever, who cares? So anyway, if you guys didn't know how to do that, it's really nice because if you ever get a manual that's straight up all in Chinese,
yep.
Then you can actually use this to translate. I don't know why that one's not translating. It's kind of strange. Maybe I do need to hold still. And then down below, I don't want to get the, yeah, it says high degree of, yeah. So it's all the same stuff. But then when you go through the instruction manual, you can read all the Chinese safety instructions, which is where the real good morsels are. So I don't know, are you filming me translating this?
Yeah,
or you
both.
Just... Okay, so as you can see, it's super cool because it just live updates. So like this first step, it says, as shown in the picture, install the vertical tail to the rear slot of the fuselage. Okay. It says, use the attached screws to fix the vertical fin. Okay, so as shown in the picture, the bottom of the fuse. So anyway, the reason I bring this up is because it's so important to be able to read Chinese when you work with Chinese stuff, from what I'm told. And by the way, that will chew through your battery really quick. So guys, here on Brian Phillips RC, we're always showing you cool tricks, like using tools that you probably shouldn't be able to film because it's probably proprietary. And that's what we do here on Brian Phillips RC because we're so small, they would never ever care about us using it in public fashion like that with copyright infringement probably looming. But that's okay. So now that we've got all that copyright infringement out of the way, let's look at the bottom of this thing, because I'm really, oh no, it puked. Oh, it puked. So on the bottom, look at those cheaters. Holy crap. That's huge
crazy.
cheater. Hobby Wing ESCs, it looks like Predator, 80 amp ESCs. And the only thing I must say that I really, 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 really wish we had on this plane, you know what I want on this plane?
What?
Thrust reverse. Because you could slow it down super nice. I love the red.
Yeah, the little red details
Those
are cool.
cheaters are covered by that decal, aren't they? Look at the cheaters up front.
Up front? Yeah, these right here.
That's actually for battery cooling.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I'm not sure. I might have to cut that. Well, we'll find out. And then obviously the landing gear. Look at the landing gear. You can't see anything, which is super cool. And these are 90-degree retracts. So they go in flat and then they come out and turn, which is just super, super, super cool. And I gotta say, guys, these scale jets are just something else. One complaint on this plane, and I'm just gonna get it right out of the way. I had same complaint on the last one, is suppose you're doing a Gen 2 5050C, you've got an IC5, okay, which has the data line, okay? Just to be totally clear, yes, you can plug those in. So XT90 is not a complaint. You thought I was gonna throw out a complaint, you guys heard that? Well, this is actually not a complaint. The one complaint I have is that I'm gonna have to run a telemetry line to that. But again, on the newer XT90s, and if my thumb weren't screwed up still, my stupid nails growing out, it would be easier to do this because I have to be careful not to break my nail off. I know it's gross, guys, but anybody who's ever busted their nail knows exactly what I'm talking about. You can actually break this open and you can put your lines inside of there, which is super easy. Now, if you can't get it to pop out just by hand, what you can do is you can grab a flat screwdriver, okay? Flat screwdriver, get the right size, and you can get in here and you can kind of wriggle it in, and then pop it out. Yep, see how it's popped out? And then look at that, you're right there, ready to go. I call that pulling the pants down. Whoop, whoop. So then when you pull the pants down, you can slither right up the pant leg, and then you can actually tack into this with solder if you want. Or you can wrap around and slide back in there, and then you're all underneath the pants, which is nice. So I think it's a really good way to do it. It's very easy. And when you're dealing with telemetry data, it's not like the telemetry data on your voltage pack is something that you're gonna need on every single flight forever. You're pretty much gonna know how much you need to fly for a couple of minutes. And to be honest with you, on this plane, my expectation is we'll be lucky to get 2.5 to 3 minutes out of a 5,000. Okay. Yeah. Now I could be wrong, and there's people that will get more, and there's people that will use bigger packs. I use a 7000 6S the last time we flew. My only concern is I'm not really like hip to destroying 7,000 milliamp packs because I've only got a few of them, and they're very expensive. They're like darn near $200. So, and again, we try not to talk about cost because we don't want to be depressing when like all of a sudden that $200 becomes $220 in like 6 months because inflation is so out of control. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try not to talk about pricing when we can, but if you wanna know how much this thing costs, just check the link in the video description below. Two things get served. One, if you end up buying it from that link, then we'll get some commission from the companies we work with, and you'll help support us financially in that regard, which is super nice, and we really appreciate it. The other thing too that you can do is you can also find out how much the price is currently and in your area, because there are certain areas that you can't buy these things. And I don't know why that is. I think it has to do with just how gigantic the box is. Do you like how I set that upside down?
Yeah, I noticed, but
that was super. That's gonna annoy people like crazy, I bet. So I'm just gonna throw it and narrowly miss my NX8. So by the way, we are gonna be setting up on the NX8. We will have enough channels, I believe, to get everything done. I don't know if I wanna put this upside down or not. I'm trying to decide.
Well, what are you doing first?
Well, I think I just want to set it on the plane stand because we were talking about how sometimes plane stands don't fit well, okay? That's true. This particular plane stand has been good to us on most planes, but I remember on this plane, we probably had some issues with it. So you have to kind of flatten these things out and they like to pop out. So if you have problems, one suggestion I got from actually more than one viewer is you can take and put powder on these, and it allows you to slide them in and out a lot easier, okay? So, and just full disclosure, we are probably gonna try to use our 100C packs because the 100C packs are gonna give you just a little teeny tiny bit more protection between the cells, okay? Now, what's the difference between a 50C pack and a 100C pack besides the $20 or whatever difference in price it is? The difference is a little bit less weight, which is really weird. That's highly unusual, by the way. But also, the difference that you're gonna find is that there's more protection, there's more thermal blocking here. You're gonna have a little bit bigger piece of aluminum that protects on the 100C. The size of the battery leads happen to be the same on these. And then I don't know, I mean, this is a Gen 1 versus a Gen 2. Gen 2 tend to be a little bit faster on recovering balance, okay, than Gen 1. So we might actually be a net better on Gen 2, even though it's classified as a 50C. Now, some of you are thinking to yourself, but Brian, neither of those are actually 50 or 100C. They're like a 45C pack. Fine, whatever it is. But Spectrum makes some of the best batteries out there and they're expensive for that reason. So in my experience, I've been really happy with the Spectrum Smart Packs. We have had a few that have been problematic, but it's been very small minority of battery packs. And with other brands, we've had equally bad experience on dead on arrival or cells that come and have a problem or whatever. So we've just had an overall good experience with them. As you can see, we have tons of them and we've had a few that have puffed over time, namely from twins. Twin 50s, twin 70s are the bigger offenders that we've ever seen. I would love to see a plane in this size class that comes with 2 leads so we can make a choice between pairing them up and using a larger pack or using 2 smaller packs, because 2 smaller packs is almost always easier on your batteries because you have twin ESCs anyway. You can get away with that. The trade-off is that then you end up with a BEC that needs to be powered somehow. And so people sometimes struggle with that. Well, you get into this echelon of plane, in my opinion, you should be able to figure that out. So that's my 2 cents worth. It doesn't really change anything on this particular plane, but I just wanted to talk about that for a brief second. Okay, so we got a wing joiner. Are we gonna read the instructions since they're in Chinese, or are we just gonna do this?
I think we're just gonna do it.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, I don't know why I'm putting the wing on. I think we should probably do these things are gonna be the most complicated. Don't you think? The horizontal stabilizers are the most complicated.
Well, once you put the wings on, then it's always more awkward to deal with.
Yeah, and I'm gonna leave off the tail thing because it's just really long with that thing on. I am super disappointed. Holy crap, show them this. This is crazy. Look at this. There's a counterweight in here. Do you see that?
Holy.
Yeah, it's huge. So these ventral fins can go on at the very end. But we'll just start kind of getting things in position. The wings are gonna go on super easy on this plane. You do have to hook up wires, which is a bummer. Now I'm gonna show you this on and then I'll probably take it right back off, just because the nature of this plane is such that there is an upright, see this? That'll key. It goes like that, looks totally sweet, but just keep in mind that nose is huge. And so I wanna get that out of the way so I don't accidentally damage it while we're working. And by the way, don't grab the nose. It sticks out there so far, you might tend to grab it and drop it. And then of course the tail, this thing may just slide in. I would really, there's kind of no excuse for no magnet if you ask me.
There's a picture of a glue bottle.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, there's really no excuse for not having a magnet attached to this. Because to be honest with you, there's a big old piece of metal in there. And if there's a big old piece of metal in there, then it'd be really nice if you could take that out. So again, that's gonna be just the last thing because it's gonna be a lot easier in that regard. And obviously the canopy and all that good stuff is gonna go on. This is actually gonna be a pretty easy build. It's just the radio setup's gonna be a little complicated. Now you may be noticing a small thing missing on this plane, and that'd be the Reflex V2. Now I don't know if this is gonna be offered with Reflex 2 or if it's just gonna be offered without Reflex, but either way, we are gonna put AS3X and safe on it, I believe is what we're gonna do. Or we're gonna find out that this already has, okay? So you see how there's a detent here and a detent there, and then there's a screw hole here and a screw hole there. So one goes one way and one goes the other way, and I can't remember which direction it goes, but I think what we're gonna do is we're just gonna put the canopy on so it keeps all the wires contained, and then we're gonna come back to it in just a little bit. We're gonna definitely do the shelf liner trick inside of there on this plane. Ooh, be careful, that thing is not as strong as you might think. Don't break it. Okay, canopy's on, looks pretty good. There's kind of some slop around here. I'm not a big fan of that. I'm gonna be honest with you. The last time I flew this plane, it was not a good experience. It was scary because I had that terrible crash.
It was technically, a different plane.
It was a different plane.
Slightly.
But just only very, very minor differences.
Yeah.
So I'm still like sort of a little bit shell shocked by that still. And I want it to be a good experience. So I'm super excited, but I'm also a little bit concerned. Okay, so as you slide this in, there's this point here, okay? Now, I think this one needs to go down, if I remember right. And then you've got, obviously you can tell from the color which direction goes down, okay? So this is gonna slide through like this, okay? And then once that slides through, now remember, you have to be able to slide this on and then get this into that thing. Okay, so it's kind of an awkward thing. Okay, so once you slide that through, then you have to lower it down, okay? So now you can see where there's a set screw there, okay? If you show them from above. Mm-hmm. Now, there's hardware in this bag, mostly for the tail feathers, and then there's those two sleeves. Now, what I forgot was you have to actually put that sleeve on. I knew I was gonna miss that step. Okay.
Because you have to have that in that little notch before you put it in there.
Before you slide it in. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop this in. This receives your set screw, and the set screw is in this bag. So guys, one of the things we do here on Brian Phillips RC is we go through the assembly, not because we wanna be super tedious, but because we know a lot of you guys are gonna have questions. It's not that any of these steps are especially difficult, it's just more a matter of if you want a helping hand or you wanna watch me struggle through it, then you can look at what we did wrong and you can say, I would never do something so stupid, especially not on camera for the world to see. Okay, so I'm gonna grab this set screw. I'm gonna feed my 1.5 millimeter and then drop it down the sink. That's when RTL fasteners would come in and save the day, okay? So I'm gonna get this started. See how it's just gonna protrude through, and then I'll back it off so that it's clear. Now remember, this is real easy to drop and have it spin on you. So what I've done in the past that's worked is I actually take this and slide it and just get it ready. So there's not a lot of time for it to slip and slide. Okay, and then once you get it where you think you want it, stick your screwdriver in. Okay, and it's sometimes a little bit challenging to get the alignment just right. Okay, and I feel like it's just a little bit tricky to get that to penetrate in there properly because it's actually kind of hard to tell if you're getting it or not. See, I'm not getting it right now, so I have to now use this tool to pull it up. You see what I'm doing there, camera crew? You're kind of blocking my light there, so I'm sorry. See, as I wiggle this, you can see it trying to get lined up. And by the way, once you do this once, if you were to take this off for transport, you don't have to redo this again. But I'm having a real hard time. You can see it started, but it's not all the way in. Okay, so as you can see, I'm slipping it in here, and I pulled that set screw out just so you guys could watch. But as you can see, I'm struggling to get that started. Now, because I'm struggling to get it started, the camera crew had an idea, and the idea was pretty simple and basic. Let's do this out here so you can see what's going on. See, this is gonna line up with that. Now, it's possible it's keyed, but it's not. You see how it slides in either way? And then this assembly is what holds the wing on to the shaft. And then this slides in here and gets fixed with a screw, okay? It's a countersunk screw that goes into that plastic member, okay? So then it's just a pivot rod that actually holds the horizontal stabilizer on there. But my problem is I can't get that to slide in. There it goes. I don't know. Something about that particular angle was perfect. So then, once you slide this in there, you can see where the set screw is gonna go, and it definitely makes a keyed point, okay? If you're concerned and you decide to use thread lock, I'm gonna warn you about thread lock, okay? Thread lock is a net good thing. By the way, this was slipping. I'm gonna go to my flight test or Flywing one. Now I can really get some torque on that. I don't know why. I think we've just used this so much that it's got a little bit rounded on it, okay? This one's not rounded at all. That came in like one of our aircraft. I can't remember. It was one I didn't particularly care for either. Or maybe a heli or something.
I think it was a heli.
Yeah. So either way, now I can pull this out. This assembly will go on the other side. And so the easiest way, of course, is to just do it while you've got it out. You can see you've got that little detent facing your body. Push it in so you know where it goes. Get it squared and then drop things on camera, of course. That's the only way to do it. And then you see what I'm going to do. I'm going to just try to just carefully drop that. And then I can take my screwdriver. And you don't want to over penetrate, at least in this application. Okay, so you see it's not going. So this time I'm going to just there we go. Oh yeah! A lot better that time. So it's usually about the time you're done building the plane that you figure out the trick. Well, in this case, we have to build 2 of these, which is an awesome problem to have, by the way. Oh, son of a biscuit. How many am I going to drop? Okay, so I'm going to keep it sideways like this. Okay. So there's always a step or two like that when you're building these radio-controlled airplanes where it's just a little bit annoying. So I must say, this plane is as complicated as it is, it's really not too bad. And then look, they provide, in case you drop like 14 of them on the floor, they provide extras. Now, if you're anything like me, there's someday you're going to go downstairs and you're going to take all those little spare parts and you're going to build an entire manned aircraft out of it.
Yeah.
So also I want you to take note of something here, camera crew.
What?
See how there's 2 short and then the rest of, well, there's 3 short and the rest of them are long. I'm going to let you guess which ones we need back here.
I'm going to guess short.
Okay. Now, why would you guess short?
Because they always give you an extra and you only need 2.
Incorrect. Because you have watched me build hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of planes.
That's also true.
So now show again. This is the tricky part that's going to get you if you don't pay attention. Then rock it in. Okay. So now that we're rocked in, we'll grab the shorties. We're going to feed them on. And that is, in fact, a 2mm, I believe, instead of a 1.5mm. Because why would they use the same size? They want to make my life difficult. Okay. Here we go. Okay, just pull in and out until it goes. Perfect. So folks, I must admit, I probably make that look harder than it really is. But if you're doing it on camera, it's harder.
Yes, it is.
Well, depends on what you're doing on camera.
True.
So guys, here on Brian Phillips RC, we love to have you part of our little team of hobby people that love to do hobby things. And so we appreciate you being here. If you want to subscribe to the channel, if you haven't already subscribed, you're going to get all sorts of new content all the time. Hey, check this out. Guys, talk about an amazing idea. That is so smart. I have never seen a smarter idea ever. They literally have in the livery, they tell you where that thing is supposed to point. That is so smart. It is literally molded in. Do you see that?
Yep.
And then is this one? But wait, hold on. That's conflicting data. Is it supposed to be centered or is it supposed to be like that? See, this is part of the plastic, but then this is a decal, okay? See, I feel like that outlines the tip.
Yeah.
But then this doesn't point to the tip. That would be pointed to the tip. So now we have to refer to the Chinese manual again. Okay, Ching Kong. Sorry, I probably shouldn't do that. Where is it? It says, okay, something. Oh, here it is. Look. Yeah, it does say. See? Look, line it up right there on that thing. Okay, so don't be confused by the decal. The decal is incorrect. What you want to do is line up your feathers right there. Okay?
Nice.
Now, also, I want to point out something. We're not putting in the control rod anyway.
Right.
There's a wall there.
There is a wall there.
Speaking of the wall, Brian Phillips RC time. Turn around for a second.
What?
Film the wall.
The wall that is right next to.
Okay, so
that wall.
One of the funny stories when they were building this house, we came in and we were always here just obnoxiously watching them build our house.
Every day.
Every day. Every day. The poor drywall crew was in here trying to do their job and they're like, hey, just leave, please. And I was like, no. They had to tear this whole thing out right here.
Yes.
Because I was like, there's switches. There's 4 switches right here.
That wall is pretty much
This
all
is like
studs.
the entire
whole
structure
wall.
of the house
It's
right
all
here.
right there.
This holds up so much structure, it's insane. And so our architect was probably like crapping himself when he saw the drywallers had to tear this out.
Tear that wall out to get the drywall
And
in.
I was just like, oh, please don't lose my house. Please don't knock it down.
Because all the drywall was delivered in the garage because it was December and it was crappy.
Yeah,
out.
and
so
if
they
those
had to bring it all in
drywallers,
from the garage
if those
door.
drywallers would have been like, hey, you may want to actually make this door wider, that would have been a good call. Because we probably should have made that door wider.
Except we literally never actually closed that door.
Oh yeah, I know. but truthfully, that was a big gaffe on our part, I think, when we built this house.
Yeah.
Because that should have been wider. When you design your own house and you hire an architect, these are the types of things that they suggest.
When you design a mudroom, just make it about
Make
twice
it
as big
twice
as
as big
you
as you
think
want.
you need it to be.
Same thing with the laundry, same thing with everything.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so you'll notice that we did not put the control rods on because the control rods are not gonna matter anyway yet because we need to have the servos centered. Now you could use an XPC battery checker, which is also a servo tester. If you don't know what that is, an XPC 100 battery checker. I think it's, XPC battery checker 100. It's also got a servo plug there and you can test servos or you can center them, which is super nice if you're building a complex plane like this. But in our experience, I think there's maybe like one time that we had to actually fix a servo. I mean, it's very unusual. Okay, so let's talk about this. You don't have to wire anything. Okay, so we're gonna slide this in because you don't have to wire anything.
Oh, nice.
And just look how easy this is. There's even a key right here, which is really nice. And that is not gonna receive a screw. The screw goes here and here, okay? And I'm just trying to be careful so I don't like ding up the foam. Oh yeah, it's got a kind of a tight squeeze to it anyway, okay? That is so sweet. I love it when things go right. Now, longer screws are obviously going to be used, so it's a 2mm screw here. And you don't have to worry about plugging in the cabling, which to be honest with you, huge miss if you ask me on why do we not have that feature on the wings, because look, what? We do have it on the wings. Why didn't they put a receiver on the inside? Do we have to like screw that in or something? I don't know. So I'm having trouble getting alignment there. Not a big deal, we'll be able to figure it out. But then this one goes in right away, it looks like. Is it going? Can't tell. It's always hard to tell at the beginning. We'll just kind of squish this down a little bit. Now this is plastic, so you can push against it. I cannot tell if it's biting yet. I don't think it is. Oh, there. No, I can't tell. I don't think it's going. It's not going. Oh yeah, I need to push down. I need to go down. Here. Yeah, this one's out of alignment by about just a little teeny bit. I'm gonna try to pull it down with the screw. Okay. Ooh, that's scary. Ooh, I don't like that at all. Come on now. Oh, come on, you can do it. I don't have anywhere good to push against because I don't want to damage the top of the wing.
Right.
So I think what I want to do is I want to press down. You see I've got my hand on the back of the fuse. Mm-hmm. When I push hard, ooh, that is a scary thing to have to do, folks. Ooh. Oh yeah, there's the front edge of the screw. Okay, you guys see what I'm doing? I'm pulling down and in. Oh, this is a very scary thing to do. Once I get one thread started, I do not want to cross thread this. There goes, there goes, there goes, I'm in.
Yeah.
See, like I don't want to damage that and there's not a lot of good backing and you see how hard it is to turn? I'm definitely in now. Okay, now this one, I've got a better place. I can put my hand here and my hand here and press. See, my thumb is pushing hard. Please line up, please line up. Pushing hard, hard, hard. Oh yeah, it's going.
Good.
Okay, well, that's fine. It went, no problem. This one here was kind of scary because I want to keep that sharp edge and I did dent it a little bit.
A little bit.
I hate denting brand new planes. Guys, leave it in the comments below if you have dented your planes. Super annoying. But at the end of the day, so far so good. This is not a too bad of a build, and it is got some beautiful lines on it. Oh.
It's pretty early to be squeaking.
We only have one short screw. This is definitely the right screw.
Right.
And you definitely have to have that right. You cannot do without. You have to put it all the way in. Now I can pull maybe. I could get a drill. I'm not a big fan of when they do this.
Is the front one all the way in?
Oh yeah, it's all the way in.
So can you take that one out and put a little bit of soap on it?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to. So normally when we have to lubricate the tip like this, we'll use Dawn dishwasher detergent. Or not dishwasher detergent.
Just
Why
like
did I say
dish
that?
soap.
Dish soap.
Like just soap. Just
soap. So if you don't have dish soap in your kitchen, you can run that along the edge of a bar of soap and you'll get some lubrication from that too. So now I've got it. Oh yeah. Oh, it's like butter.
That's better.
It's like they don't hate each other. Oh my goodness. This is so hard to turn. Are you kidding me? I mean, I've got the death grip and I still can barely do it. Do you want to try?
Yeah, right.
Come on. Oh my goodness. I feel like I'm gonna lift it off the stand. This is like burn. I feel like Richard Simmons. I feel the burn. Richard Simmons. Half of the people in the audience are like,
who's that?
Who is Richard Simmons? The other half are like, I still have the VHS.
Yes.
Richard Simmons. Why did that come to mind?
I don't know.
Very weird. Okay, so that's nice and tight. Okay, make sure it clears, guys. If that thing binds, you are gonna be pissed off because you will probably crash your plane because of it. Just to be totally clear, you want that all the way in there.
Yeah.
No chance?
No.
Okay, I love it. Very good. Okay, so next maneuver. Whew, that was scary.
Why don't you do that again?
Oh yeah, twice. Three more times. Three more. Three more.
Times.
Good problem. Good problem to have, people. Okay, so actually, to be honest with you, that's still only like 400 times easier than it is.
I was just thinking that.
We did not have to do any surgery
Nope.
to get that screw in.
No, we have not.
I think that's the only brand we ever had to like rebuild.
Literally cut holes in the plane.
I'm just gonna start with
Preemptively, I was gonna say.
drip of lube.
Wait, oh, you missed it.
What? Oh, you missed the zip.
It didn't focus.
You didn't focus? You gotta give an extreme close-up of the lube. Let me just push it down out of the way. Another reason to wait. Oh yeah, way better, way better. So if you guys get this plane and you're like, man, I put mine in, it was just perfect. Yeah, I went in on the first try.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, exactly. You got lucky. I don't think you're gonna get lucky though. I think it's gonna be like that because this is plastic to plastic, folks. I gotta push that down, pull it in just a little bit. Whoa. So folks, this is another example of an FMS plane that is absolutely gorgeous. And we have been really impressed with how well the planes have gone together. This is probably the most squealing we've had from any of them.
Yeah. Is it mostly the plastic to plastic?
You know, I think I remember having problems with this on the SU-32.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's
been a
just
long time since
you know
we
what?
did that.
I'd rather have a tight fit on something like this. It does
Oh.
not bother me that much. It's better than gluing.
Yeah.
Imagine if we were gluing this and we expected to get the same strength.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, not so much. Not gonna happen. I don't know if you guys can tell how hard I'm turning.
Yeah.
My hand is white. Well, it was white before, but it's extra white now. Okay, so, ooh. No me gusta. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. You see what I'm talking about?
It's rubbing.
It's rubbing. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just, don't do that, guys.
Yeah, not that.
I gotta tighten it more. Sorry me. Oh my goodness. All right, crescent wrench. let's just drop some more stuff. We're doing a lot of that today. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a crescent wrench, okay? Sizable, not crescent. Okay, we're gonna bite on to the shaft, which is octagonal, and we're gonna use this to really get in there, okay? Oh my goodness. That is like so bottomed out. You know what else I could do?
What?
Okay, so this would be a last resort. If you ever get one that's really bad like this, you could take the screw out, you could hold it with something like this, it's not gonna let go, and you could heat it up. Now, use caution because those nut zerts are pressed into the plastic, okay? So if a nut zert is pressed into plastic, what's gonna happen is you're gonna heat up the nut zert. Okay, so you may have to take this assembly off and then you would go into the nut zert on the inside. You would heat the tip and you would slide it in and then you would let it melt and you would push it just a little bit and then you would just like hold still, let it cool. Then once it's cool, like a minute later, you could pull it back out, put the assembly back together. And that'll actually push the nut zert in just a little bit because I think I'm bottoming out. I don't want to do that though. That's kind of scary stuff. All right. That is absolutely gorgeous. And actually not a very long build, to be honest. I know we've got work left ahead of us, but still. Okay, now I want to talk about something for a sec. There is a splitter in here, okay? That splitter is going to take power and steal it for the light, as well as run this servo. And you're like, but where's the flaps, Brian? Well, this would be a flap run equipped plane if you're gonna run flaps, okay? So now you don't have to run flaps, but I would suggest that you consider it, okay? So I'm just gonna pull this over, make sure I don't come out from the other side. And then this is keyed. It says minus and S for signal. Okay, so S for signal is gonna be like this. And all you have to do is just plug this in, get that key. See, there's a key here. There's a relief for the landing gear retract. Okay. I'm gonna plug this in. Make sure it's fully seated. Again, you know, I want to complain about that not being a quick disconnect, but then again, it's like, this is kind of a huge plane, so people are gonna have to actually do that, you know?
Oh.
Yeah, because it's a pretty big plane.
It is a big plane.
Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rock back here to make an opening. As I go, I'm gonna hold over here where there's plastic. There it is, it's in, and we avoided crushing right here, okay? Oh, that is so gorgeous. Oh my goodness. Even though it's missing wings. Excuse me.
The problem is, it's a big plane. It's wide, but it's
also long.
Tall and long, and then the shape of the canopy, like it's just kind of an awkward shape.
You mean the nose, how it points down?
Yeah.
This servo wire was kind of stuck in here.
In there.
So I'm trying to relieve it so that I can, okay. Just do your best when you see something like this, don't accidentally disconnect your servo cables when you pull that out of this cavity. And when you're doing this, you can just do a quick visual on the connectedness of these wires, okay? So that's something you want to definitely check. Okay, so signal is toward the tail and negative is toward the front. So the brown is going to go forward. And it's a lot easier if you just pull it out like this, guys. I'm gonna hold the middle of the plane to give it something to push against. Now that I've got that plugged in, it's a lot easier, probably easier to do that. Okay, now I'm gonna reach over here, grab the plastic or something that you compress without compressing, and just up a little bit and aligned. Oh, that is absolutely
really
fantastic.
Good fit. Yeah.
I love the way that looks. I love it, it's so cool. Okay, here we go. So let's put this on here. Man, we totally need to do dog fights now. Oh, it'd be so fun. Wait, did I put that on right?
You and who?
I don't know, Zane can come over. That looks so sweet. I'm loving it. So we do probably need to screw those on too, I'm
Yeah, that
guessing.
might be a good idea.
So now I have to actually take a second and think about this. How am I gonna flip this and make it sit on the stand? Full functioning televons, that is so sweet. I love the way it looks with the limited ordnance. Looks like the way they would actually go out. I mean, when they go to battle, they're gonna go out with more. It is very, very heavy on the back end. Holy cow. Okay, so watch those tips, will you?
You might have to go back past. No, that's okay, actually.
Okay.
They're not gonna hit.
Now keep in mind you have an air brake that is run by a retract mechanism, and it is strong, and if you start this up and your retract condition is in the wrong condition, it's gonna open. You need to be careful to check that out, okay guys? Ventral fins could probably wait, but I just have no self-discipline. So we're gonna put this in. Oh, I'm gonna put it in anyway. I may have to take it back off. Oh, that is so cool. And it blocks the servo, but look how close it is to the servo. It's actually touching, check it out. That's not cool.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think it was supposed to touch, but it does. Oh, come on, there it is. Yeah, buddy, it's in. That is so sweet. I cannot wait to see this thing in the air. It is gonna look so good. And then also, I must say, we have to mount the 2 screws for each wing, so why don't we do that now? I'm like nervous about it. My hand is still sore from the last one. Okay, so I'm just gonna dip the tip. Everybody likes to dip the tip once in a while, so we'll just go ahead and dip the tip and then get it in there, get a little lube. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's way better.
Yeah, that was so much easier. Oh my goodness. And by the way, the thing that's so nice about some of these modern foamies is if you're new to the hobby and you're like, I'm not ever buying a foamy. Come on, man, seriously.
Why?
These things are sweet.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you wanna build, and there's definitely a skill and an art to building from stick, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that, but why you gotta bash the foam? It's so cool. And yes, there are definitely advantages to balsa wood aircraft. They're gonna hold up a lot longer. They're gonna be a little bit higher quality in terms of their building materials. But at the end of the day, you know, let's be honest, you're flying these things like 100 miles an hour. People do stupid things, they screw up, they crash. You know, it's not the end of the world because it's super fun. And then you spend 6, 8, 9 months building one, then you crash. I mean, it's like, wow, that's very bad.
Yeah.
But these things, you know, you take them out of the box, you spend a couple of minutes putting them together, you're ready to fly. It's amazing. And I just think that, you know, our lifestyles are so different than back when this hobby, you know, kind of started. And people don't have the time to build for 6 months or 8 months to get an airplane in the air. And it's just like, you know, if we can get it done economically and have a sweet, good, high power to weight ratio, and we can do all the cool mixing and radio setup, it's just the experience that you want so bad, but like most people honestly couldn't afford the time if you're adding 6, 8, 9 months to it. Then you're only dealing with people that are retired because, you know, kids can't afford to do this stuff. So, you know, you're left with such a small sect of people that you're just, you're not gonna have a big enough market to support the hobby. So guys, we gotta be all about it. We gotta help support these guys that are putting out these aircraft. There are way easier ways to make money than selling radio controlled airplanes. So what I think is, instead of bashing these companies when they're expensive, let's just help support them because they're trying to make it through this global economic mess. That looks so good. I love it. It is so cool. And you know, I'm like tempted to just leave off the rest of the ordnance just because I love the way it looks, but I'm not gonna do that. I'll put the ordnance on anyway. I always think it's gonna look better, but I'm not gonna do it before we get the radio set up and all that done. Because it's just, there's a lot going on still. Yeah. We have to glue this. So what I think we're gonna do next is we're gonna leave these things ready to go over here. And I think what we're probably gonna have to do is potentially power cycle, but we have to have a receiver first. So why don't we go ahead and glue this? It's gonna be a little bit in the way, but that's just life. Now we're gonna use mucilage. This was opened on 11/2 of 2022. And I purchased it a long time before that. But I just wanna show you. This one, that tip was cut by them, not me, okay? So just keep in mind when you get mucilage, look at this, okay? That was approximately a week and a half ago. See that? So if you take and you clean off that little booger at the end, it might be better, but I'm just gonna warn you, it's probably not gonna be that much better. So this ultrasonic seal, see what I'm talking about? And I'm using the death grip on that thing.
Yeah.
And that is why we stopped using mucilage. It's not because I don't like the product, I love the product, but you're gonna get that. So now look, I am not gonna apply it to this because then it will never slide in. Oh. So look what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna apply it to here. And you see it's like very, very, very thick and very sticky. And this stuff is awesome adhesive. It's just that if you get it and you hope to buy a lot to save money on shipping or whatever, then just don't. You're wasting your money. Just buy a small tube. You're not gonna get the life out of it like you think you will.
Right.
And the thing is, I could try to cut a bigger tip, but I don't know if you guys can see how hard I'm squeezing that.
But like, I can't use that stuff to like help when the boys are fixing stuff. I can't even use it.
Because look, I'm like literally having to contort my hands and like roll the tube, which maybe if I roll it, that'd be the way to do it.
I'm waiting for it to like explode.
It has, I have blown them up before. Ooh, that did help a lot. You see what I'm talking about? I need a caulk gun to take this stuff out.
You can heat them up, but that's
but that's so impractical.
too.
And you have to heat it up, and then you have to warm up water. You can't just put this stuff in the microwave, or that'd be a huge mess.
Yeah.
Okay, but the key is it really, really works good. Okay, and it's very, very, very fast. But you're probably thinking that's not enough glue, Brian. Yeah, it actually is plenty. But I'm gonna still do the other side too. So now that I've done that side, guys, and full disclosure, I'm not trying to beat up Hobby King, because Hobby King has a time and place, folks. Let's just be real. But mucilage, I long for this stuff to be more useful, because I used to use it constantly. Oops, now I'm putting it in upside down. You see how it gets all stringy and stuff? That's what you want. But do not let that cook too long. You won't ever get it in. See, spread it out. She's done.
Yep.
I could probably pick it up by that thing in well, if I do that a couple more times, I could probably pick it up by this part. Now, I'm not gonna do it to prove a point, because I am hard-headed, but not quite that hard-headed. So, for practical purposes, this mucilage is awesome stuff, but just don't buy it ahead of time. You'll be disappointed. It's not very expensive. It's actually very cheap. It's one of the cheapest glues you can get on the market, and I love it. But for that reason, you tend to buy a bunch of it so that you can have it sitting on the shelf, and it just does not have shelf life. So you need to be aware of that. And also, I find it's like one of those things that's like not in stock. Whenever you need it, it's out of stock. But so is true for a lot of other types of glues. Yeah. So if you're using CA is kind of the same way, in that you buy it and you want it to be good when you need it. And like, I buy everything in bulk because we go through a lot of it, but we don't go through it fast enough still. So this plane is pretty much ready for radio setup. So our next move is gonna be to figure out radio setup. So in order to, should we show them with ordnance?
Well, I thought you said you were gonna do radio setup first.
We'll do radio setup first. I think that's true. And there's 4 of these, okay? And I'm sure somebody's gonna be like, oh yeah, that's this missile. Like, I have no clue what they are. They're missile. It's like Sidewinders and aim 2s and all this stuff. I don't know. I don't know any of that stuff. Okay, so the next thing is, they suggested it looks like glue, but since that's probably CA is what they mean. And they do talk about what channel goes to what, but we're not gonna really pay attention to that. They do show the up-down movement if you want to try to copy the manual, but to be honest, guys, I've never really needed that to be able to complete a model. I think that was really helpful for people back when we were setting up transmitters and buying our own servos and actually doing like ARFs or full-on kits. It was more critical. But I think nowadays servos are sized by the manufacturer and all that stuff. So now our next move is we got to figure out some answers to some questions. And namely, the answer that we need to figure out first is, what receiver are we using? And I think we're going to pause and come back. Wait. This is what we're using. The NX8. Okay, and you're like, well, you don't need an 8-channel for this. Yeah, you kind of do. And we're going to talk, we were talking about this off camera. Okay, so we have 3 choices. The obvious choice is the AR8360T. Now, why would you do the 8360T, camera crew? The reason you would, I'm gonna answer, is because you may want to do televons, okay? If you do televons, then you can do televons and have these act as flaps if you want, in tandem with this, okay? Which is a cool way of setting it up, but it's also not totally necessary. You can also just have this act as an elevator and these as ailerons. Now, the reason you would do that is because when your flaperons are deployed, you're gonna lose roll authority pretty drastically. And then when flaperons are active, then you make your televons active. That'd be two different flight modes, okay? Now, this is probably the better option. The AR 637T, okay? It's gonna give you telemetry, so you're gonna have Vario. Of course, you don't need that. You're gonna have Vario on this too. You're also gonna have battery telemetry even without smart ESCs and smart packs. Same thing here. But 6 channels still gonna give you enough because you can do throttle, which they're shared, it's 1 channel. Then rudder, elevators, ailerons, gear, and brake, as in flaps, okay? Then you've got master gain and AS3X/safe on off. And then you can control all of it with the NX8, okay? Now that is because on AR 637T, you can use channels 8 and 7 for master gain and AS3X on and off. So you don't need the pluggable channels of this. But as soon as you add in another feature like televons, then you're gonna need to go up to an 8 channel so that you can do that, okay? Now, I don't know that it's really necessary, and I'm reluctant to do it because the last time we did that, like with this F-16 from E-flite, we did that, and we did the AR, well, actually came with the 8360T as a bind and fly, okay? Now, we got an early release, so we had some, let's just call it lack of knowledge base, because they had actually used it as a demo, like a sample at the factory, and then they sent it to us. So we had some wires unhooked. We weren't sure what was going on. But we have now learned that they come with flaperons equipped, and you just have to activate it, okay? So we didn't know that at the time. You could also use the 631 or the 630. I would not recommend the 630 on this plane because it's fast. It's gonna get away from you a long ways. And you do probably want the full range telemetry on this type of plane versus this where you're gonna have flyby telemetry, okay? This has plenty of range for the actual antenna. On flying performance and everything, you're still gonna have AS3X and safe. It's still gonna set up exactly the same as the 637T, but it's not gonna be set up necessarily the same as this, although you could use this and do the same, okay? So if you guys are trying to pick which receiver to use, my suggestion is the middle of the road, but at the same time, I think there's only about a $15 disparity between these two, $20 disparity. So by the time you're dropping this level of cash on a receiver, you might be tempted to just go up to this. That being said, you buy some flexibility, but I'm gonna point out one more problem, okay? Look at these wires. This is your aileron cable. It is a wide cable. In order to split off your ailerons and do flaps or flaperons, you have to actually cut this, and then you can build an end on the other side. Now, we've done it before on camera. It's not a big deal. Like, I have the tools to do it. It's something I can totally handle. That would allow you to split this channel. You can always put a Y cable back on the end and then terminate them into 1 channel. But just keep in mind, if you do that, and by the way, I know what's gonna happen. This is the part of the video where all of you new pilots are gonna say, Brian, help me do that. Please don't. This is not a beginner plane. It's harder to fly, it's harder to land. It's actually not that hard to fly planes like this. It's just hard to land planes like this. So just keep in mind, if you're looking at this plane as a beginner plane, please don't. We wanna prevent one and dones on this channel, and that's what we mean is you get an expensive plane, you drop like $1,000 getting set up on your plane, then you drop another $400 or $500 on a transmitter, and then you go out and you crash it immediately, and you're like, I'm done with this hobby. We don't need to do that to you. It's gonna, destroy you as a potential customer and a consumer. That's gonna help us grow this hobby, which is what we wanna do, to grow this hobby so that as things get better, they get cheaper, they get more plentiful, and also we have more legislative power, which is really helpful because if more people are doing this, we can gripe to our senators and congressmen and things like that to keep it free for all of us. We don't want one and dones where you go out and spend $1,000 and you're never with us again. Also, this is a tough skill. Like, it takes time to learn how to do this. You're not gonna do it. And if you're a full-scale pilot and you think you can just jump in the pilot seat and do it, yeah, good luck. You're gonna be a one and done just like everybody else. It takes time. It'll take you a couple of years to get to something like this, unless you're just a freak of nature and you're really good at it, which there are a few freaks of nature out there. But most of the time when you see like a 5-year-old doing it, they are like the freaks of nature and they're very, very good. So also get a simulator. We have a beginner list. We'll help you get here if you want to be here. You could be here in a short couple of years if you really work your tail off and you fly a lot, like every day. you might be here. So anyway, getting back to the point. So if you want to split this wire, you can split this wire. So when I speak about this stuff in the Unbox Build radio setup and you say, Brian, you go way too fast for me, that's probably a good telltale sign that you're on a too advanced plane for your skills, okay? Because you haven't built up that knowledge base to get there. Now we're here to help you. If you're a skilled pilot and you're coming back to the hobby, you don't understand the radio systems, the binding process, you know, setting up flaperons, things like that, we'll help you with that. That's no big deal. But we're talking about, I'm talking to the noobs right now. I know you're watching this drilling thinking I want that. We get it. Don't start here. You will regret it. Okay, so you can cut these 3 wires. You can literally build another end just like this, or you can take these out and cut both and build both. But why would you do that? I would just separate right here and just cut one side or the other. Doesn't matter which one, then build the end on the other. That gives you the ability to split. Now, what else? Well, we've got rudder, okay? You could actually split your rudders. You're gonna need more channels if you do that. You're gonna have to go up to a 10 channel, which means then I'm inferior on this. Also, why am I not using an 8 channel on this? Because I can use the top 2 channels with this, which means I max out my channels. So the 6 fits our applicational needs better. Whereas if you were buying this with the Reflex V2, which incidentally, this doesn't have the Reflex V2 in it, they may be offering this plane with Reflex V2, but if they are, I'm not aware of it yet, then that would mean you could do an 8230, which has no AS3X or safe, and you could do that, have full control over all that good stuff, okay? But just keep in mind, if there's a reflex involved, you're probably gonna end up with a 620, because the 620 is gonna do all the individual controls because they're gonna mix it all for you.
But you need a channel for reflex on off then.
Not necessarily, because we have learned that you can change the condition of the reflex to the one you want, which is on a plane like this, let's be honest, you're not gonna use auto leveling probably. But if you need auto leveling, you're probably picking the wrong plane. So you can turn it on with any channel, get it to the correct state.
Sure.
And then unplug it and it will stay in that state into perpetuity until you tell it to change again, which is awesome. And that's super nice because then you can get away with the 6 channel. So that being said, we're gonna probably end up not using this because it's overkill in our application and we don't have enough channels, which by the way, we are very much toying with the idea of going up to a 10 because we wanna avoid this type of issue. Yeah. Or possibly the IX14, but we don't want to leave you guys in the dust if you're used to using NX, so we're probably going to lean toward the 10. We're going to go with this, okay? That's what we're going to use. Now, I know that's going to disappoint some of you, and I didn't get to the final explanation, which is why do you not want to split up your elevator, okay? Elevator, let's show you. Look, same scenario, okay? Look, where does that Y cable go, camera crew?
Who knows?
So, like I said, what you can do is they have left it up to us because they left the Y here. So we can split that just like flaperons. So all you have to do is literally take your strippers, scissors, whatever, cut off one side, build a second end, and then you can separate your elevators, okay? So it is manageable. It's not like a super, super hard thing to do, but it would be super, super cool if they just had a regular extension cord and we could just pull off a Y cable. It'd be a lot easier on us, but it's not that big a deal. If you're at this echelon of plane, you probably should know how to build servo ends by now, okay? If you don't know, what plane did we do that on? I know we did it not too long ago.
We'll have to think about it.
Yeah, I can't remember what plane it was.
The Rafale? No.
No, it wasn't the Rafale.
It was before that.
It's probably like the F-16, the first D-flight. But either way, I don't remember which one it is. It doesn't really matter. The whole point is, you can split, when you've got these pairs like vertical stabilizers and elevators, it's always tempting to split them or flaperons. My experience, and this is experience from a lot of different planes, and I mean, I'm at hundreds of them, is that when you start splitting up channels and you start adding things like flaperons and televons, the flight performance does not necessarily change that much. Because really, where do flaperons help? Flaperons help with landings. And to be honest with you, they don't even really help on most of these jet planes because you come in and you flare. So you end up really not needing it. Now, I'm not saying it's not cool to have that, and I'm not saying you can't slow it down, especially when you've got televons, because then you keep and maintain a lot of that roll authority that you want. But remember, it's all part of this overall, you know, sphere of like, how much do I want to spend on this particular plane versus the next one versus the next one. And in the whole grand scheme of things, I think you're going to be just as happy if you go with the 6. So anyway, just my thoughts. You guys are going to ask why. You have to watch this part of the video because I can't type that out in the comments. By the way, I am way behind on comments. I apologize. We don't want to leave you guys hanging but at the same time, it's very hard for us to produce this much content and keep up with comments. So we're trying to kind of err on the side of making more content and maybe getting behind on comments. So please accept our apologies. All right, so 637T, now that we've given a detailed explanation on why we're landing on this, haha, pun intended, this is what we're gonna use. So that means we have throttle, elevator rudder in no particular order, ailerons, retracts, and then brake. So that'd be 5, 6. And then 7 and 8 will be master gain and AS3X on off slash safe on off slash maybe no stabilizer at all. But generally we will set that because we have retracts, flaps, AS3X on, stabilizer off, auto leveling. Thrust reverse would be on G if we had it, which we don't. Throttle cuts over here, throttle, rudder, ailerons, elevator, okay? So we have everything laid out, mapped out. We know how it's gonna go, and it's gonna go super smooth. So the next thing we can do is we can actually start the true radio setup. Now, the radio setup gets a little bit more blended in here because we still have to run this battery line up through the pants like what we talked about earlier. And then keep in mind, you also have a BEC on this one. So if you wanted to cheat, you could also steal voltage for your data from that side of things, and then you don't have to be such a long, huge thing here, okay? Oh. Just keep that in mind. But the telemetry tap point doesn't matter because this is getting full voltage. This is nominal voltage of all the cells going to your BEC. This is a battery eliminator circuit, and it takes the battery power, cuts it to the right voltage level, and then feeds it into your receiver, which then runs your servos, your LEDs, of course, the radio transmitter and receiver. These are both transmitters and receivers. Even though we call this a receiver, we call this a transmitter. There's full duplex communication. So also, you can see there's heat shrink back here. So that gives you a place where you could slide your leads and tap the power for your telemetry because it's all in parallel. It doesn't matter where you tap it. But we'll get into that shortly. Also, you'll note that the battery is way up front here. So that means it's very easy to mount your stuff up here, which is what you're generally going to do. You are definitely not getting your battery back here no matter how much you want to shift the CG back. If you want the CG back that far, you're going to have to add dead weight back there, okay? And by the way, this thing is heavy on the back end. It's very heavy on the back end. That is where the bulk of the weight is. Okay, so what's our first step on radio setup? In this case, we are going to probably slide the plane back so the camera crew can see good. We're just going to get that out of the way, and we're going to go ahead and turn on the transmitter. I think we should be safe. Okay, so the Radix was the last plane. Also, we have our switches in the correct condition, except that should be there. We're gonna hit back and cancel, scroll down to add new model. We're gonna create an acro. Why is this thing so dirty? That's so weird. So also, if you haven't updated your firmware, you might wanna do that. There was a recent firmware release to 3.7.017 or something like that. There was 2 of them within like a week. I guess there was some flaw in the first one, so they re-released. We happened to miss it, so it worked out okay. Also, I wanna pause for a second. I upgraded the firmware on our NX6 as well, and I ran into a problem. It stalled on installation. So what did I do? I actually took my SD card out of this transmitter, which by the way, they say you can only use a 32 gigabyte or 32 gigabyte.
I don't know.
32 megabytes. I think they say you can only have a small one. Well, anyway, mine's a 5 or 4 gigabyte card, so I don't know what they're talking about. It works fine. So I have tons of models in there, and that is considered an ultra high capacity UHC, and they say you can't use that either. I used it, worked fine. But when I tried using a smaller one, it didn't work. I don't know why. So if your SD card gives you problems, a micro SD card, then try another one. It'll probably work. What you do is you get online, you have to go into spectrumrc.com, log in, and then there's a special link that takes you to another website that is just for firmware, okay? The passwords are not the same, okay, guys? They're not the same. I thought they were the same. They're not the same. Horizon Hobby's password is different than Spectrum RC's password than the actual firmware updates password.
Of course.
Which is what this password is. Now, you could make them the same if you wanted, I suppose, but that's between you and God and the hackers. So for now, anyway, I just wanted to go over that. I did end up having to put it onto the SD card, loaded it in the bottom, and what'll happen is if it stalls, you'll see the Spectrum logo and it'll go back, and then it'll like go the other direction and stop, and then just shut off. And if it stops at the same spot and shuts off, then that means it's stalled, okay? Normally it'll go back and then forth and then back and then forth and then like back, then forth, then back. It's just ridiculous. I have no idea. It's totally ambiguous. I don't know why they don't just have one status bar that says progress. It'd be so much less confusing. Because it's really hard to tell when it stalls. And mine sat there for about an hour trying to uplight, trying to finish the first time. So after I eventually realized, yeah, it's been like 2 hours, I'm gonna stop it. So we just pulled the battery plug, did this, worked fine. So anyway, everything's back and running. So if you run into it, it's a little bit frustrating. Plus the instructions do say you have to go back to version 3.05 and then to 3.06 and so on and so forth. Nope, just go to the current one, put it on a memory stick or SD micro and put it in, power it up, you'll be good to go. If it doesn't work, try another one. If it still doesn't work, make sure you're ejecting it when you pull it out of your card reader or whatever. All right, so getting back to the point, model select, we just got done with model type. We've already set model name. This is where we type in the name. This is unit number 130, colon, space, and then we're gonna type it in. This is the J-11BS. Of course. So we're gonna scroll this in. I do use the legacy keyboard, full disclosure, so. All right, so the J-11B twin 70 millimeter, okay. Aircraft type. So this is where you would set up wing types, which is normal or flap. And then this is where if you decided to do it, you could do aileron. Remember, you've only got one rudder. So I'm just gonna leave it as normal for us. And then I'm gonna go in here. Ooh, select image, it's new. Import image, whoa. Non-standard image, no image. Ooh. Whoa, import from files, standard image. Oh, there we go. Whoa, it looks the same as it always did. Let's see what else we've got. It's just, instead of a dark backdrop, they've got this light. Yeah, so it looks pretty much the same. So I wonder what happens if you import an image. Like, do you just take picture and it does the conversion?
Yeah, that's kind of strange.
Let's see which one we could put. Probably the one that looks like the Rafale. Good enough. And it's kind of weird. I've never actually played with this. You see this aircraft option, 3-axis gyro, active. Gyro 1, active. I don't even know what that does. We'll have to play with it someday. Okay, so aircraft type. We do have flight modes on this because it's AS3X and safe. So I'm gonna make one switch assignment on switch D, okay? And that's gonna be used later. And I'm not gonna change the names necessarily here, am I? Because we can do that later. Spoken flight mode is where you would do it if you were gonna do it. So I guess in this case, I'll set it up, but then we'll just click, and then you can, whoops. This is the written name. Remember, this doesn't actually make the assignment. This is just what you want it to say. So this will be AS3X for us, so I'll type that in real quick, and we'll come right back. Okay, so AS3X, and then we want it to speak, so we can scroll down. Now you can change your audio events, so it's a little easier to do this, but we just show this so you guys know it can be done. And I like this, especially when you have multiple complex things going on a plane. It's really nice to not have to wonder if you're in the right mode, but just keep in mind, this does not set the mode. This is just your label for what that switch means. And later we're gonna make the assignment so that it does actually say it correct. Okay, so we can test that. Nice, okay. Then we're gonna switch the switch, and then this is gonna be probably off. So cancel, cancel, or escape, escape, and then we'll type in the word off. Okay, so we're gonna choose off and then test. Okay, so that's where we wanna change this, and we're gonna make this one say safe. So we've got safe, and then we're gonna scroll back in and then put safe on here too. Okay, so now we can go AS3X, off, and safe. Okay, so that's all done. Now channel assign, we wanna make sure that auxiliary 2 is usually assigned to B. We use B for flaps, but in this plane it's a little bit different because flaps are really just an air brake, okay? So we're probably going to make an assignment I'm not sure how I want to do this yet because we do have flaps turned on. Now, one thing too to keep in mind, you may not actually want to make a wing type flap assignment on this plane because you may not need elevator correction with the air brake. So I'm just honestly not sure what to do with it. So I think for now, we'll just disassociate B from that for the time being. Auxiliary 3 is fine for the right knob. Okay, then we're gonna walk out of the menu. Okay, so it comes up immediately, tells us what mode we're in. That's always nice. Now remember, that's not changing the actual mode. I'm gonna go and set up throttle cut. First things first, safety first, throttle cut. If you're not used to using throttle cut, I would highly recommend you get used to it. Throttle cut's off, and you can see it's working down there in the bottom, right there. Throttle cut's on. Okay, so we're good. Throttle curve we're not gonna mess with. Flap system, we are gonna turn it to switch B. And really what we're gonna do is the flap system is gonna be controlling a retract. So it's gonna be like landing flaps, and that's really all it's doing, okay? So I don't know what condition we want it in, but we're just gonna set it up like this, where it's like this, okay? I don't believe you can run it out halfway. You have to run it all the way because it runs on a retract. So it's like opened, closed, or closed, opened, right? There's no like, I want you to stop in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's what would be cool is you could run that air brake to an infinite position, but you can't really do that on this plane. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set both of these. I'm actually kind of nervous about that because I don't know what condition it needs to be in. I don't wanna overdrive it. So I'm gonna actually go ahead and set this to 0, and then I'll just leave it in the middle position while we start, okay? No elevator correction will be set up yet because I don't wanna accidentally set my elevator correction neutrally, okay? So we'll leave that off, we'll come back to it later. You can do mixing as you see fit, and then timer, I'm gonna set this to a countdown timer of 3 minutes with a 1-time active. That just means when you go over the threshold of 25% in this case, it's gonna start counting. Okay, at 1 minute, I want a voice warning. At 20 seconds, I want nothing. At 10 seconds, I want voice as well. At expiration, I want tone and vibrate. That's just a preference thing, folks. And then a tone every minute thereafter. And you're not gonna set those. Okay. Telemetry will automatically configure when it gets connected. And then audio vents we've already set, so we don't need to mess with that. Okay, so we're ready to bind, but we gotta wire up stuff. So servo setup, that tells us what channel everything is set up to. You can see it down here, throttle, aileron, elevator, rudder, gear, flap, auxiliary 1, auxiliary 2. Okay, so auxiliary 2 is eventually gonna be attached for safe on off. As you can see, it's not changing any of those conditions, but it will be changing that one at some point, and then this is gonna be our master gain. Okay. So throttle cuts on, we can just leave this on so it's easy to wire everything up. Now, obviously, because this is a spatially aware receiver, it needs to be mounted. And it can be mounted in a bunch of different ways that are all perfectly fine. And there's nothing particularly right or wrong about going upside down, right side up, left, right, whatever. Just so long as it's a supported method. I would recommend going lengthwise because the width of the plane does not support going sideways. I believe that the receiver is not happy going sideways, but I don't know that for a fact because I've never done it. Okay?
Yeah.
By the way, if you ever get in a pinch and you have to mount a receiver in a weird condition like that, a lot of times what you can do is you can just change the output, then trick your controller with mixing. Okay, so this is the AR. Whoa, almost dropped it. This is the AR 637T. It's got a bind button here. This is where we're gonna plug in our volt. Okay. So before we actually get that mounted, I think what we need to do is open this cable up. This is a little cable, and you're like, why does it come with this little cable? This cable is what tells us our voltage telemetry. Now you could actually monitor voltage of something else if you wanted, but you already have BEC on this. You have BEC voltage on even the simplest receiver, the AR620 in this case, in the air receivers. So, you know, if you're low on voltage on the BEC, you're screwed. Okay, so I'm gonna hold this and then twist, okay? And if you want to make this super fast, you can hook up a drill and do this too, which works really, really nice because then what's gonna happen is you'll have a nice, well-managed cable, okay? So then that's gonna plug into here. Don't mind my lady calling out. So that's going to plug in here. Okay. And then that's just going to be one more thing to deal with back here. Okay. Now, probably what's going to happen is I'm going to get all these wires hooked up, and then we're going to get this stuff in. So the first thing we're going to do is just look down at our controller. We've got throttle on channel 1. So where's throttle? Throttle's here. Okay. So this is cable management / hooking up. How do you tell where signal is? S is marked as the top. So port 1 is actually the second set of pins over, and that's a bind programming switch at the first one. So what we can do is we can actually hook up our BEC on that port, or we can Y into any channel, okay? So we're gonna take this, we're gonna walk back with it, lay it kind of out of the plane for now, and you can see how there is a positive and negative, but no signal because there is no signal. So that just follows the same suit. So you can plug that in there, and that will steal power for the BEC. Now that we know where all that goes, you could also chase this wire and you could run it alongside just to make it neat if you wanted to. And you could even go through that ferrite core if you decided. But I think in my case, just because of the nature of what we're doing, I don't know if I have enough length, but we'll still just for grins, we'll go through the ferrite core and induce some extra eddy currents just because it's already weighing down the plane. I might as well take advantage. If you guys aren't familiar with what eddy currents are currents that run perpendicular to the direction of electron flow. And you can use your thumb to point what direction the electron flows are, and then your fingers will indicate what direction the eddy currents will flow. So anyway, more useless information from Brian Phillips RC. You're welcome.
Glad you didn't ask me that one.
What are eddy currents, Megan?
No idea.
Eddy currents are RF noise that is generated by the flow of electrons that are not subject to the conductor. So in other words, you are actually outside of the influence of the copper. And it's an effect that has been tapped for not centuries, but many, many years to do all sorts of cool things, like make antennas or actually transmitters. Okay, so that's kind of cool, interesting detail if you're a huge nerd like me.
That's why I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now that I've got this, I'm just going to twist it some. This is proving to actually be quite difficult to twist today, mostly because that nail is going to rip off. It's going to be super gross, and I don't want to have that on camera for the whole world to see, although you already know about it, so you might as well see it when it does happen. So all I'm doing is I'm just twisting this, and the reason I care is because that makes a nice, neat, tight package. And what we're going to do is we're just going to chase along this. And why are we chasing along this, camera crew?
To make a nice tight package.
That's right.
Because everybody likes a tight package.
You heard it first on Brian Phillips RC. I didn't say it either.
I thought you were worried about your length. Are you not now? The length of your cable.
Was I worried about it?
Oh, well, you're going to that little spot now?
Now I pulled my pants down for no reason.
You pulled your pants down for no reason.
Okay. All right, so guys, look, this is what I'm going to do. I need a positive and a negative, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the black wire. I'm going to separate off a little short chunk. I'm going to wrap around like this at the end. And that's going to make what?
What?
What's it going to make?
I don't know. What are you after?
It's going to make a tight package.
Oh, sorry.
So then this, we're going to go around like this. And all we're doing is cable management now, but we're also getting where we need to go with the wire. And so as you can see, we've got this monstrosity of cable wrapped around itself. Now, why is that important? Because this is all relevant to the same data being collected. Now, this JST connector might actually allow us to get in here if we really wanted to. You can actually take apart a JST connector, but it's much easier to take apart this side if you're gonna do it. Because when you do, you may find that this is just the easiest way to tap the wire, okay? So you see this? You can take an X-Acto knife and push that little pin and then pull the socket out. And then you would have a disconnectable package, which would be kind of cool. Not that it matters. I think in our case, you could go off of this too if you want. Now you can also press those out, but it's much harder. You have to take a long screwdriver and reach in here and you can release them, but it's very hard to do that. But you see there's copper right there too. So maybe, I think I'm sort of torn here. We could go either way with this. I feel like if we go this way, we're gonna get the cleanest, tightest package, which is what I would like to have. It's more presentable and it's, you know, it's just about as easy to do. Okay. So now I don't know if I can get lucky enough to just slide that up there. That'd be super handy if I could, but I don't know if I trust it.
Right.
So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you another mechanism. You need strippers and an X-Acto knife for this, or strippers and an X-Acto knife, or you need an X-Acto knife and a toothpick or some sort of a O-ring pick or something that's sharp enough to pierce through the silicone wire, okay? So we use toothpicks a lot in this channel because toothpicks are helpful for many things. I've also heard that you could pick things out of your teeth with them.
Could you use a butter knife?
Be nice.
Sorry.
Okay, so, oh my goodness, that just broke off. Are you freaking kidding me?
It hit my foot.
Oh, that ticks me off. I like literally bumped it barely at all.
Yeah.
That thing must have been pre-broken at the factory.
Might have been.
I wonder if they glued it. That was an epic fail.
I think I would just leave that off.
Well, it's gonna get broke for sure, but
Yeah.
the thing is that kind of pisses me off. Well, whatever, I guess I'll have to. If you guys ever have a piece of plastic that breaks off, one trick that works really nice for fixing that is you can take and heat up the plastic over an open flame and then literally stick it back together. And you're like, why not just glue it together, Brian? Well, because glue doesn't hold as good as that.
Yeah.
And that's a high wear point. Like that's gonna break off anyway, so whatever. I guess that's life in the big city. Hopefully yours doesn't do that. Okay, so I pierced it. You see? Mm-hmm. And I'm inside, okay? Now, why am I going that way and not this way? It's contrary to the path of the wire. Why does that matter?
Why does that matter?
Because then if somebody yanks on it when they're trying to put their battery in, they won't break it, see? Now I'm gonna stick this in there and I'm almost assuredly gonna get contact with the copper, okay? Why do we wanna get contact with the copper, camera crew?
Well, because that's how you're going to get your voltage.
That's how the telemetry gets its reading. Yeah, it's like touching a meter lead onto the actual battery, okay? Now, normally, the best thing you would use to tape over this would be just like a good higher quality vinyl tape. So I'm gonna use some vinyl tape here. We have a new roll in there, so we'll just do a little piece of it. It doesn't need to be a lot. Now, you remember how I told you I need strippers and an X-Acto knife?
Yeah.
That was just for show, guys.
You also needed scissors, didn't you?
Just for show. Yeah, also needed scissors.
Not the strippers. You didn't need strippers.
Okay, so you see, just keep that in place. And then what you want to do, now I'm afraid that's going to pull out.
You are?
Yeah, I'm afraid that's going to be allowed to pull out. Now, again, it's not like we're powering the plane with this. We're just measuring telemetry data. So that's where strippers come in, because I don't have very much penetration. Okay, so you see what I'm talking about now? Mm-hmm. So what you want to do now is take this, and then I know it's kind of a bad angle, folks. My apologies. It's just, I got to see to be able to do it so I can show it on camera here, folks. So now, once I've got that started, I can crease my wire and force it in there. Going back to the utility of choice today, which would be, oh boy, it's just not making my life very easy. Oh no, I ripped her open, see?
Oh.
Hate it when that happens.
Yeah, that's never good.
Nope. Okay, so you see what I did? I just twisted that. Now you could put more tinning on there. But remember, this is just the BEC wire, which is kind of critical and stuff. But you see, once you rip like that, there's kind of no going back. So I might be better off to just, Now the X-Acto knife comes in handy, because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to separate some of these wires. I'm not going to cut them. I'm just kind of moving them out of the way to make a pocket. See how I twist and that opens up a pocket? See how I'm opening up a pocket? Can you see that? Okay, now that I've opened the pocket, my number one tool, get back here. I'm going to take this and I'm going to make an opening right inside of that wire, okay? So now why do I need an opening in the wire? So that I can stick this thing in there and get good, satisfactory penetration. Correct? Mm-hmm. Feel like it's better that time. Okay? So sometimes they say, I don't know if you guys have ever heard this phraseology, less is more. Not exactly words I live by.
I was gonna say.
I'm more on the like more is more side of things. Okay, so now I'm gonna press this tape on very hard. Now keep in mind, we never actually cut a single strand of copper doing that. Now, why is that critical? And I did a really, really, really piss poor job of actually taping that. But that's because I was trying to hold it in there. So now I'm gonna get in here. And vinyl tape, if you can, the best way to do it is to actually put a little bit of pre-stretch on it. And then that'll hold itself in place for a long time, okay? And that is kind of a lot of weight. You know, it's a big plane, so it doesn't really matter, but. Okay, now the other side, we're gonna show you the easy way. The easy way is this. You can also come down to this big, huge wire, okay? And you can tap on that huge wire. But I'd like to keep them on the BEC's tap. And the reason I wanna do it on the BEC's tap so it looks right, because then they're both together. And I'm just gonna strip a little bit less of this external sheath here on this cable. Oh, I ripped the tip. That is not fun when you rip the tip off, guys. The tinned lead is now ripped off. Bummer. That's okay. We still have plenty of wire there to be able to get good penetration, satisfactory penetration here. Okay, so you guys see what I'm gonna do now? I have to undo one wind because I don't have quite enough length. We're gonna do the exact same thing we just did on the other side. The only difference is, of course, I need to open that up just a little bit again. Oop, gotta get the sharp tip. Okay. Good opening there. And if you guys really want to do this the super correct way, then you would actually just slide this all the way back to the end of the connection where the battery is, and you would get really good satisfactory penetration. You just pull the pants down and penetrate with a soldering iron. Whew. Toasty!
Exciting.
Yeah. Okay, so now we can just flatten this out, as it is going to obviously give us our telemetry data. Now, you guys are probably screaming at the TV like, or the cell phone or whatever, just Brian, just solder the thing. It's not that big a deal. I agree that it would make sense to do that, but I'm just gonna tell you, we have done this on many, many planes and never had a problem. Mm-mm. Now, I thought we'd have problems the first time I did it because I said, let's just see if this works. And we never had problems, so we just kind of kept doing it. And it's possible that we would, you know, like have a problem someday, but so far we haven't had a problem, so I'm just gonna stick with it. Now also, let's talk about this thing real quick. If that thing breaks on you, yeah, I'm looking and I'm seeing some glue on there. I wonder if that thing was busted.
Yeah, I think
maybe it was pre-broken.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going on. Now, I didn't break it. I'm sure I didn't. So now that I have that back in there, I tend to think it was broken. Do we have CA up here, Cam Crew? I don't think we do.
I don't think we do.
Okay, so now another thing too that at some point here in a few minutes we're gonna have to do is down here. But yeah, let's keep plugging. Let's keep plugging away.
Okay.
Pun intended. Okay, so we have throttles plugged in. Now what I'm gonna do is, because there's so many cables on this plane, I wanna make sure that I'm cognizant to check everything I can see, and I'm just gonna feed excess back as we go, so that I have the same length out, okay? And then this, I wanna kinda wait and see what we've got for room. Maybe not. Let's just push it back if we can. Okay. I kinda wanna keep that out so it can stay cooled. If we pack it back in there, it's gonna be like super duper, like warm potentially. And by the way, that's probably gonna get the hottest. That's an 8 amp at 5.5 volts. Good Lord, that's a lot of power. Also, let's look at this. Do you see this? There's a lip. That lip, we need to respect that lip because I don't think that'll fit there. It's gonna be really close if it does, okay? So that may need to lay flat. And it doesn't have to be mounted. So I guess for now, we'll just leave it out so it's easy to get to. And then also I just wanna, this is the big mess, this is the gear, but I'm just checking every single wire before we dig it all in there, or bury it in there rather. Okay, see this? This is tangled and it's driving me nuts. The red goes up. Knock the antenna off again. Did you see?
Oh, yeah.
So the red is up. This would be the landing lights on the nose gear, I believe. Okay, so now I'm just gonna double that back and push it in the hole. And yes, that's 5C, again, landing gear related. 5B, again, landing gear related. Just tucking everything I can back in the hole as we go, okay? Just getting it back as far as possible. Now this thing is the sequencer for the landing gear doors and the landing gear. So we're just sliding that back in and then sliding that back in. As you can see, everything is already getting tidier than it was. Gear is on channel 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5, of course, this is the Futaba color scheme instead of the Hextronics JR color scheme, so it's white as signal. So channel 5 is right there, so we can go into that. Okay, so as we go, we do cable management, folks. That's the way we've always done it. Had pretty good luck. So there's rudder, 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 and you're like, wait, there's only 2 rudders. No, there's also steerable nose gear, and that's why you're seeing that 3rd wire, okay? So then rudder's on channel 4, so it's next to gear. And I think this one, we grab it like this. Signal is up. Oh man. That is, oh, there we go. And just grab it and stuff as we go. Then this one is elevator. Elevator is on channel 3. So I'm just kind of, wherever I want the wire to go, I pull it from that point to help with cable management. That's on channel 3, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, plugged in. Okay, and then this must be ailerons. Now ailerons are not labeled. For whatever reason, they're not labeled. I don't know why they decided that they didn't need to label those, but they evidently didn't. Okay. And I know some of you guys are thinking, why don't you set up flaperons, Brian? Just because in my experience, and this is based on a lot of different planes, if sometimes you just don't need that function and it's easier to set up the plane and it's gonna fly every bit as good, and you do have the air brake. So speaking of, where is the brake?
Wasn't there a flap one?
Yeah, but I don't have it plugged in. Where did it go? Oh no, did I lose it? Ooh, that's, oh, it's right here. Whew, I was gonna say I pushed everything else back in. Okay, good, this is tangled. I'm gonna go back in here and just pull out some of the tangle. Whew, that would have been bad. Pull that back down. And then into channel 6. Great, okay, so that's everything is sort of buttoned up now. So now I can just start carefully. Now I'm not pushing hard on these wires, I'm just pushing them literally into this void. And as you can see, we've ended up with a pretty nice, what was that?
What? Tight package.
That's right.
Yeah, that was kind of a
mess.
Giant sloppy mess when you first started.
Well, it's usually afterward, but. Okay, so we're gonna spin this and get that twisted for looks.
Spinning? Oh, that little piece.
Yeah, just so it looks cool and looks neat. And then we're gonna plug it back in. And I know some of you guys have commented on this over the years that you're like, hey, I love watching cable management. And it's kind of funny because it's like all the things that we don't want to actually do ourselves. It's fun to watch somebody else do. It's like mowing the lawn, like strangely satisfying watching somebody else mow the lawn.
It is?
Yeah, I don't know why. It's just weird. Okay, so there's that. So I think that's gonna go right there. It's a beautiful spot, looks
really
perfect.
nice.
And then the wires can be there, or we could go out here so we get a little bit of room. I don't know, we'll probably just go somewhere in the middle. Now, what do we need? We need something to stick it down, so we're just gonna grab some double-sided tape. There is nothing magical about this, like from stabilizers over the past that we had that didn't really need to be used for whatever reason. Maybe we used Velcro, or we used, like another piece of something or another that we had lying around. Okay, so we'll just stick that on here. And this is just, like a double-sided tape. There's literally nothing too crazy about it. I think this came out of a Lemon RX stabilizer. At the time, we must have been using Velcro that day or something like that. Just slide that back down there. I'm gonna get this centered probably just for looks and also for function. Press it down pretty hard. Let the adhesives work on that double-sided tape. And there you have it. So now what we need to do is we need to try to get this diversity antenna set up so that they're at 90 degrees of each other. Okay, so like this would be inappropriate if you were trying to fly for maximum diversity antenna performance. So what I wanna do is I wanna basically tape one of them, flat, and wood is fine. That won't interfere too much, but there is this, see this? That servo's there, so it does make me slightly nervous. So I'm actually going to, I haven't done this for a while. Let's do another method. We haven't done this method for a while. See this? This runs at an angle, okay? That's fine. Because I'm gonna actually run my antenna on a flat right here. I'm gonna just make this antenna disappear. Okay, and for this, it might help to use forceps. Forceps, of course, are necessary if you're doing a lot of radio-controlled airplane stuff, and especially the bent tip seems to be the more popular. Okay, so I just use this to make a hole. Now I'm not gonna clamp on, I'm just gonna use it to hold, just real gently. And make no mistake, you can break this antenna with these forceps. If you clamp on, you'll probably destroy it. Okay, so just grabbing very, very gently. And I'm not making good penetration there, so I gotta probably open up the channel just a little bit deeper. Okay, so we'll try again. You'd also just use a bigger tool to make a wider hole. Oh yeah, there we go. So now we're in. Okay, so now that we've got that one done, you can see that makes for a really, really clean looking install. Like better than factory look, which is the way I like it if it's possible. And then this can go vertical, it can go straight, except straight would not be 90 degrees. It could go flat here, probably. That might not be a terrible spot. But then it's gonna get in the way of where the battery is gonna go, because I guarantee you we're gonna wanna have it there. So this is more or less easy. Look how nice this looks. That's crazy. I did not expect that at all.
No, I didn't either.
I thought it was gonna look like crap. So let's go like this. Let's go like this, because I know our battery's not gonna be over here. Kind of tempting to just, go like do the same method.
And just poke
And just,
it in.
yeah, just poke it down, because then we'll have, that's good enough for
under there?
diversity. I don't know, we'll find out right now.
Huh, okay.
Yep, so I'm just gonna keep it real shallow. Yeah, that should be fine. That's close enough to diversity. See what I'm talking about? See, it's protruding through, and the antenna can just pass through and give us our diversity. Oh, do you see that splitter? Holy cow, I'm glad that wasn't my hand. Do you guys see that? Look at that. That would have been so terrible if that would have been my finger. You see that? Holy cow. Can you imagine if that would have been in your tooth? Wow. Goodness gracious. You see that? What a monster sliver.
That would have been bad.
Yeah, that would have hurt. Okay, so now we can just slide that down in there. I don't like where that ended though, because that makes like kind of a, you know, it's right where it goes and transitions. So I think I'm gonna pull it back just a hair. Wish I would have had my entry points a little bit different than it ended up. Yeah, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to put a lot of pressure on this point. It's very weak there.
Right.
So, oh man, I can't believe I'm going to do it, but I'm going to totally do it. I'm going to just start my hole a little bit steeper, higher up. Sorry, folks. Yeah, that'll be fine. Okay. See how it's in there now?
Yeah.
A lot better. You can see the gray kind of passing through. Okay, and then it's also serviceable, which is kind of nice. So, and it's just sticking out the edge, little teeny tiny bit. Okay, that's an awesome install. Really happy with that. Really easy install. And as you can see, we've got everything tamed. There's still a little bit of room for some airflow up here. It's limited, but you don't need a ton. And then what I want to do is just one last precautionary measure. And this precautionary measure, of course, is always going to be an optional thing. But I'm just going to use some regular clear tape. Nothing fancy about that. We'll just pull that out. Cut it on the end so we have a square edge. Of course, get some nice hand oil on there so that it doesn't stick well. And you're probably thinking to yourself, what could that possibly help with? Well, trust me. When you're out at the field and you're in a hurry and you're trying to get your battery and there's something's gonna catch that stupid thing and you're gonna be cussing at that point because you didn't do this. And it takes like 2 seconds to do it, so it's probably worth the time invested. See, then I can do this and I can avoid having the conflict with right there, okay? See, now I'm totally out of the way of that. And if it would, you know, bump, it's gonna just barely do so. All right, so as you can see, the radio setup is almost done because we've got everything physically installed. We've got all the mixing set up so far, but what we need to do is we're gonna pause, clean up, and then finish the actual assignments. I forgot one thing before we clean up our tools. We need to get this battery configured. I am super annoyed that that thing broke off. I think I'm gonna have to fix it. But as you can see, this battery is a pretty wide battery. The 1500s are almost the same dimensionally. But then this is Gen 1, so you've got this to deal with. On a Gen 2, of course, that'd be gone, so you would just have this, and it would be a slightly orangier, darker orange.
Orangier?
Orangier. Mm-hmm. Darker orange.
Darker orangier?
Darker orangier.
Good.
Okay, so we'll just put that there, and then we will put that, oh, you would. These are high quality straps, by the way. They're the good ones. But are they glued? Feels like they are. So that, oh, nope, they're free. Woohoo! That makes me feel so much better, guys. I hate when they're glued. And yes, what I did is I put my middle finger and just walk it through, okay? Now I'm gonna pull this off. This is the Velcro that we're normally used to Velcro a battery. So like the super easy and lazy way to do it would be to just like stick that on there. But then I guarantee wherever you put it, it's gonna be on the wrong side. So you might as well just plan on doing this because this is the smart and easier way to do it. And we like easy things here on Brian Phillips RC, obviously by all the work we do and the super long videos that are the hardest possible way to make footage on YouTube. Most of our peer competitors, if you want to call them that, just do a flight and then maybe they'll fix something, you know, like with a butter knife or whatever. But we actually go into the process of showing at least one way to do it. And we do this for real, guys. When we fly these planes, I know some of you are like, man, I could do a better job. You probably could. But the thing is, you got to keep in mind, these are always maiden flights or maybe like the first of 2 or 3 flights. And sometimes we never fly them again, which is super painful for me because I love these things and I want to fly them all a million times. But it is part of the nature of what we're doing. And we love helping to grow this hobby because it is so much fun. So, okay. You're like, why did you just put shelf liner in your plane? Are you some sort of a weirdo? This is why, if you don't know, see this? Watch this. Slides, very easy. Okay, just similar. mean, it's like, it's on there. Once you put a little bit of downward pressure, which these Velcro straps can easily produce, then you're golden, okay? Now I'm gonna put the leads forward and just demonstrate that you can put them all the way back. There's quite a bit of difference for CG adjustment, that's nice, which we'll talk about here in a minute too. So now that we have freed our, ooh, that Velcro strap is making me nervous. These wood things will break if you're not careful, okay? So make sure you support the wood right next to where you're pulling. My camera crew cringed when I did that. I was cringing inside, you guys couldn't see though. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm putting my middle finger down to support the wood on the edge, okay? Now, truth be told, you only probably need one strap once you do that. Once you do that shelf liner stuff, because you just need to get this in contact with the shelf liner and then keep it, of course, attached to the bottom there, okay? So what's so nice about that shelf liner is then you can kind of start getting things situated to where you can have it all predetermined and you'll know where you need to put it. Okay, so there's that. We're just out on the wires, so this is just kind of a loose hold. This one's gonna be the one that's actually giving us our purchase. When I say purchase, I mean hold, for those of you who aren't sure what I'm talking about. Okay. All right, so we pull tight, so it's on the edge if possible. See, it's on the edge, you got a sharp edge. I'm gonna keep this loose so that I can get that to release the battery later. And then just to show you real quick how sturdy that is. It's like, you know, $100+ battery. I'm not gonna try to break it, but I am gonna try to prove to you that it's in there good. Now, let's pause and before we power this up so we can get all this crap out of the way. Okay, so CG is supposed to be 140 to 150. Now I can only measure to 150 on these calipers. So that's from where the wing attaches here, according to the camera crew. Hopefully she's correct. Okay, so you can see right there where it is. I'm sort of reluctant to make a mark if it's that close to that line.
That line, yeah, no.
So there's 150. Close enough. Oh man, that's like, I don't know if I really want to mark it in the foam.
How are you gonna remember it?
I'm just gonna make a small black dot and a small black dot, okay? Just like this. Now keep in mind, folks, with jets especially, we sometimes defer to, wait, hold on.
You should on the
marked.
outside of your square.
It's marked right here.
Yeah.
It's already marked, folks.
Yep.
That's fine. I'll just make my marks. I marked on the inside. So what I'm going to say is this: if you're marking your plane the way that I'm marking my plane, which I don't think is a bad idea, the thing about it is you're not going to be able to feel it. But with jets, with EDF jets in particular, you're going to get your battery in there, you're going to figure out where it works, and then you're going to label it like this.
Well, we don't know where it works.
5,000. I know, but it's I'm just marking the middle right now. Okay. Milliamp hour. That's 6S, okay? And this is 100C or 50C. Now, good for us, there's hardly any difference in weight. So what that means is that we don't actually have to worry super significantly about the forward or aft adjustment of center of gravity. They're in. Okay, so next thing is binding, okay? So we're on this screen, we can back out of it. We can scroll down to, and we still have to install the control horns. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna scroll all the way down to bind and just be prepared. Yes, and then I'm gonna highlight bind, and then we're gonna plug this in. Now, oh yeah, so cool. Okay. It always times out, okay. Oh, son of a biscuit. Ooh, gotta watch the gear. Okay, my gear are clear, I think. Okay, so the gear haven't cycled, so we're good. Elevator moves, ailerons move, whoops, rudders move, that's probably not good. That means something's touching inside. So now what I want to do is I probably want to go ahead and cycle the This thing, it's so cool. And then all the way down. So that's neutral, meaning it's not gonna do anything. So let's see. Flap system. Yep, so plus 100 would be brake on. That's what we want. And then I think for takeoff flaps, we're just gonna set that to also minus 100. So somewhere in the middle of the range, it cycles, okay? But you cannot indicate the exact position. Landing flaps. That is so cool. And just to be clear, that doesn't change positionally if you change your servo setup. It's just a landing gear retract, okay? So now we need to set up our televons right now before we get any further on anything else. I am gonna go ahead and put the canopy on and we're just gonna see if our center of gravity is good. The battery's all the way back. This slips on like butter. Awesome. Okay. Oh, this thing looks so sweet. Okay, like I said, I'm gonna fly with those missiles no matter what. Checking the CG on this plane sucks because it's so big and awkward. And yes, I am testing it upside down. We are right where we need to be. I mean, literally perfect. So where the battery is where the battery is gonna stay.
Okay.
We're gonna carefully lay this thing down so we can cycle landing gear and show you guys just how amazing it looks. We are good on our air brake. We're not gonna worry about hitting it. We are touching the tails, but I think we're okay. Those door looks so good. Okay, so I just cycled the gear. Oh man, that is absolutely fantastic. Oh my goodness, I'm loving it. Look at the oleos. On each of these bogies, we have softer springs than I expected. That is very good. Big wheels, hard wheels though. This one's a little bit stiff, and this is the thing that will pick up and drag your grass. I love the way that the red is painted. I wish they would have painted the whole wheel well that way. It would look so sweet, but even still, gear is in the correct position for me. Oh, that is so sweet. I'm loving it. Totally awesome. Okay, cool. Definitely passed the test on that one. Now I wanna see if I can move this back because I wanna get the weight off of the tail. Oh, you know why? It's because the way that the canopy is positioning the plane. So I'm just gonna move this back off the counter and make sure we're not damaging anything. Because if you push flat on here, you'll actually make a flat spot. Okay, now that the gear have been actuated, now let's work on doing the elevators. Okay. So elevators are of course attached here. We know that they're centered at this point. So did the instruction manual tell in Chinese which hole to go into?
I don't remember seeing a picture. We'll have to look.
Let's check.
And we're at 15.
They said, oh crap.
Oh, we don't know.
Okay, time to get the translator out.
Yeah.
We'll pause while we do that. Okay, here we go.
Vertical tail.
Aileron. Vertical tail.
So it must be that one.
Hario? What the frick
Whatever
is
that
that?
is.
Okay, so this is the elevator. So it goes to the outside, okay? All right, cool. Thank you, Google Translate, for letting us use your proprietary tool. That's probably not allowed on our channel. That's okay, because, you know, you own YouTube.
We're showing their service and how well it works.
It does, it's sweet, it's
Why would they
awesome.
care?
I don't know, because it's Google.
Whatever.
They hate the little man. Okay. Well, this is a Chinese product, they should love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Okay, now remember guys, what we're gonna do is we're gonna align this. See this right here? This is the alignment of the wing, okay? And then we just need to turn this. Oh yeah, they turn easy.
That's nice.
Oh, finally, something went super smooth and easy. This has actually been a really easy build for a complex plane. Another half a turn. So folks, here on Brian Phillips RC, we love bringing you the long format content, as you know, from watching many of our thousands of videos. And if you haven't seen the thousands of videos, just wait longer. We literally have them. You can watch them now if you really want to. But at the end of the day, we're just glad you're here with us for this video. If you want to help support us, buy the planes from the links in the video description below. It's the easiest way and most effective. There's the least fee structure involved for us, so we take more of the money that you provide for us. You don't pay any extra for the planes. You just basically help support us financially, which is super nice, and we really appreciate that. Guys, it's not one purchase that does it. It's lots of purchases that does it. And the thing is, as you can see, we're too high here and we're too low there, okay? So I guess I'm gonna defer to up.
Okay.
I know that's a value judgment, but let's leave it unclipped for now. If you get in a really tight bind and you just like really can't decide, you can undo the screw here and adjust the spline position on the elevator, okay? So the other thing too is if you don't like buying this plane, you're like, hey, I hate the Chinese. I'm not gonna buy no Chinese plane. Well, you could buy the other Chinese one that's made with the Russian scheme. So, I mean, it's fine. Either way, they're made in China. So guys, we don't try to pull any punches here. We love working with some of this Chinese stuff. It's amazing. If you could find an American company that's doing this stuff, I will work with them. Please put them in touch with us. We have an email in the About tab for business inquiries. Please, we have comment section for all the rest of it. Guys, let's look at this. This one seems to be lining up maybe slightly better. As you can see, we've got a little bit of room on top. But I say this with all seriousness. If you have an American company that does this stuff and you want us to work with them, we would be very, very happy. We already work with a few American-based distributors, and they are wonderful, and we love working with them, and we have really no problem working with anybody. So if they're in Germany or Switzerland or wherever, we don't care as long as they make good stuff. And the thing is, as long as they let us tell the truth, and that is a big challenge because there's a lot of people online that want to sell garbage and they want to sell it and then just like, you know, one and done. They don't care if you're a one and done, which I really, really, really don't get. Because the thing is, the partners that we've chosen to partner with, let us be totally truthful with you. We could come in here and say this is the biggest turd ball ever, and they would send us more planes next week, you know? Ow, oh, that hurt. I should have used the thing, but I didn't.
You're just like falling apart over there.
I know. It's all right, so guys, if it was a turd ball, we'd let you know. Everything is moving. I don't like that noise in the landing gear though. I'm gonna actuate it as it's down, but the door is still open. I can't tell where the noise is coming from.
Yeah.
Oh, I know where it is. I know where it is. I'll show you what it's doing. It's catching on this cylinder here, right there. Right there. It's touching just ever so slightly. It's not going to cause a problem because it's just rubbing. And there's a bend, and the bend is going along and just pushing.
Oh.
That's all you're hearing. It's fine. It's not gonna cause a problem. Okay, cool. So now I've got my gear down. I've got my throttle cut on. I'm gonna just test. Throttle cut is working, so we're safe. We did cut off the warning. Oh, those landing lights are super bright and awesome.
They are.
And they have the reflectors on them, so they look super ultra realistic. Look at that, so awesome. Okay, I'm gonna flip this plane onto its landing gear. I checked the CG with the landing gear up. Dang it. Okay,
Oh.
Sometimes you gotta get a little creative. Oh yeah, more tail heavy because the landing gear all went back, which is good, that's what we want, okay? Watch this. Perfect greasy landing, so cool. Okay, all right, next thing's next. Elevator up. Ooh, we gotta reverse the elevator. Aileron is also backward. Okay, so click, servo setup, travel, reverse, aileron, elevator. Elevator up, elevator down. Roll left, roll right. You'll note that our ailerons are perfectly centered and perfectly centered. Rudders are perfectly centered and perfectly centered. That's awesome. Yaw left, yaw right, elevator up, elevator down. Roll left, roll right, take off flaps, nothing. Landing flaps. Now that we have that, I'm gonna go into flap system, and I'm gonna do some elevator correction. You know what? I'm actually gonna make no elevator correction. And by the way, you'll note that I'm at normal speed because there is no reason to have that thing on a slowdown because it's just gonna delay the action, okay? Because unlike a normal functioning servo, yep, that's definitely a retract mechanism. So it's not going to allow you to have proportional control. It's either on or off, okay? Still sweet, totally cool. And by the way, look how bright these LEDs are.
Great.
Totally sweet, but the fins of the missiles are gonna block. I still want them because when I come in here and land, I guarantee you this thing's gonna do this. And guess what? That is gonna be a sacrificial lamb for me.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, continuing onward, guys. What we wanna do now is we wanna get AS3X and safe set up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna first of all shut off throttle cut because I cannot wait any longer. And we're gonna give some throttle. That was awesome. It just blew off our counter. 29%. That is so powerful. I'm super excited. They sound super efficient. And yes, I did make my camera crew almost fall, and that was hilarious. Almost as much as almost crashing my plane, which is awesome. All right, so continue onward. I'm going to set up safe in AS3X for you right now. We're gonna click. We're gonna scroll down to forward programming. We're gonna connect. Gyro settings, first time setup. Okay, everything is set. All the directions are correct. So now I need to set it on its nose and click continue, which is very awkward. So camera crew is gonna click this one for me.
Okay.
While I hold this vertical, okay? Go ahead and click the scroller. Okay, and that looks correct, doesn't it? Let's pop it and look.
Yep.
AR630 airplanes like this.
Yep.
The logo's forward, yep, we're good. Okay, so also, that's orientation 1, okay? So now we'll highlight and continue. Gain channel select. I'm gonna go down to, I already know it's right knob. Apply, it's gonna reboot. This is where you'd wanna be careful if it was gonna potentially take off from your counter, which that was totally cool. And yes, there are definitely bearings on the wheels. This thing is gonna roll out forever. Okay, so it's rebooting and it's definitely done because everything's working. So we can click, go back to forward programming. Gyro settings, AS3X settings, flight mode setup, flight mode channel. You need to just select, whoops.
Safe mode. Off. AS3X mode. Off. Safe mode.
It's actually channel 2.
AS3X mode. Safe mode. AS3X.
Okay, I don't know why it's like that, but it doesn't matter. AS3X.
Off.
Inhibit.
AS3X mode. Off. Safe mode.
And we want AS3X with safe, okay? So now we need to go to first time safe setup. We already know that, it's already been set. Just verify it, move on to the next step. Continue. That's the setting we want it in. Sometimes you got to do it twice. I don't know why. Okay, so this is where we can learn our home position. Okay, these are the default settings. So we have angle limits. Safe is off. Safe is off. Safe is on with self level and angle demand. Okay. Apply. Now it's going to reboot again. So literally, that's as long as it takes to set up AS3X and safe. And by the way, if you change your wing type, like if you had flaperons or talerons, you would have to change the setup and you'd have to go all the way back through that and relearn servo positions. Okay. All right. So now we can go out of the menu. We can go ahead and elevator up, elevator down, roll left, roll right, yaw left, yaw right, everything's working. We don't have to worry about the flaps. That's not going to be a control surface for us today. Then we haven't given throttle, so it's not going to work. So I'm going to hold down, give a little bit of throttle. Throttle cuts back on. It's working, but it's not working very much, and I'll show you why, okay? So come around here, clearing the timer, scroll down to forward programming, gyro settings, AS3X settings, and then we're gonna go down to gain sensitivity. We're gonna put it to 4 times. Okay, and then we've got the knob also attached, and it's fixed or adjustable. Well, we want adjustable, so there we go. So now it's adjustable. And as you can see, when we walk out, throttle cuts on. Now watch this. You can see it very easily. That's on for AS3X. So when I rotate this way, the rudder should both go that way, and they do. And when I go toward me, it should go toward me. It's gonna fight environmental impact. Okay, now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rotate, try to pick up this monster of a plane. Now watch this, elevators will go up when I lift. Up, down when I go down. Ailerons up, down when I go down. Ailerons up, down when I go down. If they go the wrong way, your plane will crash. Fix it, figure out whatever it takes. Okay, elevator up. Now, we can tell we're not in safe because what is it not done?
Not trying to auto level.
So I'm just gonna move this. Master gain all the way up. Master gain all the way down. Master gain all the way up. Off. Safe. Now it's gonna try to find the quickest route to level. Okay. Now it's gonna try to roll the plane over and get us back into an attitude that's level. Elevator levels out. Elevator's trying to bring the nose up. Elevator's trying to bring the nose down. Okay, so very good. It's gonna try to roll us level. Okay, perfect. So safe is working. AS3X is also working. And just keep in mind, safe does not fly the plane.
5%.
Okay. Safe just makes it a little easier. AS3X is working. Now we're at 4 times gain, so I'm gonna click, scroll down. We obviously don't want 4 times gain, that's just too much. Takes a second, gyro settings. AS3X settings. Change 4X down to, you know, honestly, it's always 1X. Okay, and then my goal is, when this is all said and done, I can have this about halfway. We're golden, throttle cuts on, everything's working except for Expo. Expo is the last setting, and we're gonna have to do this fairly quick so we can get it done, camera crew. So we'll click, scroll to dual rates in Expo, set it to switch H, or switch F rather. I want 5, 10, and 20. And we're gonna drop the rates down to 90 for the top setting. Then we're gonna elevator and we're gonna repeat the same process. Guys, if you like this type of content, long format content, I'm Brian Phillips RC. We appreciate you being here with us, but definitely like the video. Don't forget to click the bell for notifications and tell your friends about it. Have them come by and see if they might get some value out of it. If you have a new pilot in your life and you'd like to encourage them into getting into this hobby, which I would definitely encourage you to do, send them our way. We'll try to help them get up to speed. Okay, so this is gonna be basically a half setting in the middle and then a double setting in the top. And then we just drop our rates down a little bit at the top. So we're gonna fly in this mode. If we need more, we've got more. If we need less, we've got less. Gets us to the ground, then we set the middle to our perfect setting. So throttle cut's set, AS3X is set, safe is set. This thing is ready to rock and roll. Give him a shot down the thrust tube real quick. You good? Sorry. Throttle cuts on. This thing is awesome, guys. I cannot wait to see it fly. It looks like it's gonna be a powerhouse, and definitely very glad that you guys chose to take several hours out of your life to watch it with us. Stay tuned, so much more to come. And by the way, when we fly this, we're gonna be flying both liveries, which is pretty cool, and we'll show you how they do. And hopefully, if you wanna help pat us on the back, buy this thing from the link in the video description below. It really does help us. You don't pay any extra, but we do get commissions from the sales of the